It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, the noise around J.J. McCarthy now before this draft is getting a little out of control. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, across the country on the Infinity Sports Network. Perloff, we're going crazy here. Now the odds are spiking. Things are moving in all different directions. That J.J. McCarthy could go anywhere 3, 4, 5. I mean, we're talking about a team trading.
Two.
Get out of here with
He's
2.
got decent odds to go number 2.
Oh,
He's
my
at
goodness.
plus 800 to go number 2.
8-1. This is the crazy part about it. Let's talk about this in real life.
Yeah.
In real life terms here. J.J. McCarthy is a winner. We know that. Michigan was a winning program where he got to one college football playoff semifinal and then won it all last year.
He won in high school, too. Don't forget that.
And was a 5-star. I get it.
He won like the national title. Like he's won it. I saw the thing. He's won it 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. Dude wins at every level, Maggie.
Yes.
Every level.
I feel like I could probably find a lot of professional athletes who won at every level because for the most part, you are better than everyone around you. So you generally win at a lot of different levels.
Did you win anything in 8th grade?
J.J.
McCarthy was killing it at 8th grade.
Good for him. So JJ, now this is getting a little crazy though to me, and I'm not saying that he's not like interesting as a quarterback prospect. I'm not saying I'm not wishing any bad things on him. I'm totally intrigued by what his professional career could hold. But when you're talking about getting up to 2, I guess 3, 4, 5. You're talking about sacrificing some major draft compensation to go and get this player. Mm-hmm. And I get that quarterback is different than the other positions, but let's be honest. We had Dane Brugler, who was on from The Athletic. He does this whole big thing, The Beast, this big pre-draft, scouting report. And J.J. McCarthy's grade is borderline first-round pick and second-round pick. Mm-hmm. That's what the grade out by most scouts is, borderline first-round pick, second-round pick. So now you're telling me that you're going to be trading multiple first-round picks or future first-round picks for J.J. McCarthy? This is where the draft loses me. I mean, I'm excited about it, but this is where it gets really crazy. What team is really going to mortgage the future to trade up for a guy whose offense in college did not revolve around him in any way?
I have no idea because I'm not. I would bet you anything there are at least 10 teams who have him with a real first-round grade. And here's the thing. It's a matter of the market. If you want this guy, say you're Denver, who sits at number 12. Say you're the Raiders, who sit at 13. Say you're the Vikings, who sit at 11 and 23. What's the reality? I know he's not worth the number 4 pick. He's not, but how else are you going to get him? And here's another question. What are you getting him for? You could get a receiver anywhere. You could get a left tackle later in the draft. You have to trade up and do something stupid at quarterback. This is the get silly position because you have no choice. If you want this guy, you can't sit there, and this could happen. He could go 11 to the Vikings, but if you're the Vikings, hey, you got yourself all convinced, let's do J.J. McCarthy. You can't wait till 11 because anybody could jump you at any time. I think back to Patrick Mahomes, who went number 10 to the Chiefs.
Yep.
The Saints thought they were getting him at 11. Sean Payton's sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm getting the successor to Drew Brees. This is amazing. This is going to work out great. Then boom, Andy Reid jumps him. You can't afford to get jumped at quarterback, so you have to, and I will say, get stupid. Go up to 4. He might not be worth the number 4 pick or graded as a number 4 pick, but that has really nothing to do with it because it's a market for quarterbacks.
I get it, but think of the word you just used. Get stupid, silly. And this is for every Patrick Mahomes who you traded up to get. I could give you a guy who definitely went way too high because a team got nervous about this and was worried a team was going to jump them. And I'll give you Daniel Jones with the New York Giants. I mean, and that he was not worth the 6 overall pick. And a team was desperate, and they took him at 6 because they thought that Washington was going to jump up or whoever, and they get burned by it. And so,
but in that case, they had the 6 and 17 pick that year. What was it? And I was actually like, what's the difference? Why not just take him at 6? You're going to get the player you want at 17 anyway. So if you're deciding between 2 players, say you're Minnesota, what difference does wide receiver make? They already have wide receivers. What difference? Take the quarterback here and get the other guys later because quarterback is so premium, Maggie. You know that.
I do, but I just don't think that J.J. McCarthy is going to be worth all of this, and that's where this is where you and I might differ on it. I do not think that J.J. McCarthy is going to be a star in the NFL. I think that he was a star in college. I think that he's a really well-known player. I think, again, we're going to be interested in his career because when you have that big college career, I think people always kind of follow you. Michigan's a huge program. Jim Harbaugh, there's all these connections. But I don't think that he's going to come in and he's all of a sudden going to light the league on fire. And I don't think in 5 years he's lighting the league on fire. And I just don't think that he's one of those guys. Now, I'm a little lower on this draft class than you are, kind of as a whole. But for him specifically, like we're talking about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, I can even squint and see it with Drake May. I see it with Drake May. For JJ, I get that, money downs, third downs, he was good and stepped up in big spots. In flashes.
But he never had any bad flashes. He's just unknown. We just have no idea what he's going to be like in a passing offense.
Yeah, and that reminds me a little of Trey Lance. I mean, he has more body of work.
He's on the
obviously.
Unknown side. I totally understand what you're saying. But here's the thing. It all depends on the spot. Like you say, he's not going to be a star. If he goes to Minnesota, he'll probably be second in odds to be Heisman. I already started Rookie of the Year. Because that is, he's immediately, he's competent. He's got Justin Jefferson, assuming Justin Jefferson is still there. He's got a good offensive line, and he's got Kevin O'Connell, the coach. If he goes to the right spot, he's going to have a really good rookie year. And I'm not sure how you define star, but he's going to be like a legit player. Honestly, even a guy like Zach Wilson could go into that spot and succeed.
Not true.
This is
not true.
This is a great spot. I'm telling you right now, Minnesota is set up for success. You got kind of some flawed defenses on the schedule. He would be really good there.
Okay. Well,
I don't know about the word star. Is he going to be as good as Caleb Williams? No, of course not. Because Caleb Williams is a surefire number one, quote unquote, generational talent.
Sure.
But J.J. McCarthy's going to hit if he goes to the right place. I'm pretty sure of it.
Okay, so that's the question today. I mean, I think a star, you kind of know when you see it, right?
No, not with the NFL draft.
No,
really,
if a guy's a star in the league, don't you? You know it when you see it. Like
I think he's going to be
Prescott's
Kirk
a star.
Yeah, star who everyone hates.
Oh, come on.
I mean, he's the most probably disliked quarterback in the league. But yeah, Dak Prescott's a star, but you criticize Dak Prescott all the time. I think he could be Kirk Cousins in this Minnesota situation.
Okay. Kirk Cousins is, a multi-time Pro Bowler. I think Kirk Cousins is someone who's been one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, has played his career perfectly. But again, Kirk Cousins is a little bit, Kirk Cousins came into the league and RG3 was the star.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think
this was a slow burn. JJ McCarthy, if you go 4 overall or 3 and 2, I'm throwing out. The expectations, are totally different. A feel-good story is Kirk Cousins in the 4th round, right? Who ends up becoming a starter for multiple years and makes $400 million. If you're 4th overall and a team trades up multiple first-round picks to get you, you're no longer a feel-good story. Yeah. You're an expectation. And that might be that's unfair. These players, you're not trading up for yourself, but that's how we start to judge these guys because, Zach Wilson could have failed in anonymity, and been a 6th-round pick and never made a roster. We would have said, hey, look at that guy hung around in the league for a long time. If you are a 4th-round pick and the team is jumping other teams to come get you, there's an expectation that you're going to pay off and you're going to pay off in a big way.
No, see, I don't think that's the case here. I think Caleb Williams is being compared to Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
Jaden Daniels is very clearly being compared to Lamar Jackson, the 2-time MVP. Drake May is very clearly being compared to Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. I think NFL fans and the team that gets him is like, oh, we got Kirk Cousins. I think they know that at number 4. And the only this 4 is going to be the most deceiving number 4 ever. They're trading for a good quarterback, not a great. Nobody expects J.J. McCarthy to be Patrick Mahomes. That would sound weird. I think the comps you get for J.J. McCarthy are Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins, and maybe if things work out well, Drew Brees. And I'm sorry, I know this sounds stupid, but you would take that at 4 in this year's draft because you need a quarterback.
Okay, but again, you're desperate. You need a quarterback, but if you
don't need him to be. Say you're Minnesota, you do not need him to be what C.J. Stroud was to Texas last year. You just need him to be competent and good, and I think that's what you're drafting at number 4. And would you take Andy Dalton to run your team in the top 10? Maybe you get to the playoffs. That's something. Okay. I mean, you might not have the high-end Super Bowl, but I think you're drafting J.J. McCarthy for his basement, not his ceiling. Okay,
so let's take the Vikings. Yeah. We're talking about J.J. McCarthy and whether he's going to be a star in the NFL, and I think this has gotten a little out of control here with the amount of hype around McCarthy because let's not get nuts about multiple 1st-round picks being traded so that a team could go up and get J.J. McCarthy. He just doesn't have the body of work. He has the winning, I get that, but individually, he doesn't have the body of work. So here's what Kevin O'Connell had said this the other day. He was doing a podcast. It wasn't even a football podcast. It was something else.
He was at a church. It was one of my favorite interviews ever because the guy who asked him a question had an amazing question.
What was that?
He basically said, all right, if you have to choose between the arm strength of Drake May or the footwork of J.J. McCarthy, which you choose? And O'Connell was like, dove right into the X's.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah. So
Maybe that person should start a sports podcast.
That person who was in the crowd was like, J.J. McCarthy will give you competent footwork. And Kevin O'Connell responded to that. Yeah, like, that's what you're getting. You're getting competent footwork, Maggie.
I love footwork.
Feel the heat.
It all starts with the footwork.
Feel the lightning.
It's the bottom half.
Here he comes, Mr. Competent Footwork, J.J. McCarthy.
That actually makes me like him more. But the one thing that O'Connell said, was I've been a quarterback killer. And what he meant by that was the Vikings have actually presented options for quarterback, and he's turned them down, is kind of how he made this sound. I'm very particular. I'm very picky. It's not I can take any person and I can turn them into, the next great thing.
Right.
He's not promising that. He's saying, I've been super picky about who I want. Now, like, you're facing your NFL coaching mortality if you're going into the season with Sam Darnold. He's got to know that. So, yeah, I'd really want a quarterback too. But if he really has been this picky and choosy, if there's been other guys that he may have passed on because he didn't see the exact fit or what have you, then now all of a sudden with J.J. McCarthy, you're throwing total caution to the wind? Now it's about first-round picks, just handing them out like Oprah's giving cars?
I think so, because that's
desperate.
The way I read Kevin O'Connell is he is looking for very specifically guys to run his offense. He doesn't want Jaden Daniels, who's incredibly athletic, who's going to bail the pocket. He wants Kirk Cousins. You remember we had Diana Rossini, now The Athletic, told us that there's a cult of Kirk Cousins out in the league.
Mob.
The Kirk Mob. And who is the president of the Kirk Mob? Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. These guys love a dude who's going to run their offense. That's what they want. And that's J.J. McCarthy. He lacks the big arm. He lacks the athleticism. But man, will he do what the coach says. Because he sat
and trade multiple first-round picks for that?
Yeah, I think you will. I know it sounds crazy. I really think you will. I think that Kevin O'Connell is confident in his offense. He's like, if I have a guy who just runs what I want with these receivers, we can be a really good team, and we can automatically be good. And I know it sounds crazy that you're trading up for that set of traits, but that's what you want. And that guy at the church who's like, well, J.J. McCarthy gives you really solid footwork.
Hire that man.
Are you kidding me? Kevin O'Connell's like, you should have seen Kevin O'Connell's face. Like,
he's like, now I'm thinking dirty thoughts in church.
He got excited. He's part of the Kirk Mob. I think it's insane. I'm basically telling you right now, J.J. McCarthy is not a top 5 talent who I think will and should go in the top 5.
You want to know who? All right. I mean, I'd show bet you, but we've got enough show bets around here. You and EJ have got your show bet going on. We'll go through all of that stuff about what's going on with the first round of the draft.
You're more of a common sense where you're like, he's just not a top 5 guy.
I'm sorry. I don't see it. Again, you're asking for Brock Purdy, and Brock is and Brock is awesome for what Brock does. Brock was Mr. Irrelevant. If Brock had been taken 4th overall, I mean, wouldn't the expectation have been much higher from him? He's not getting the learning curve, grace periods, any of that stuff. He's coming in, and it's not like, oh, let's talk about the offense with Christian McCaffrey and Debo and Brandon Ayuk and your Trent Williams and all that. We're talking about what can you do for me today? It's just all very different.
Yeah, but if they could redraft that Brock Purdy draft, I think it was 2021, right? Was he Mr. Irrelevant in 2021?
No,
later.
No,
it was 2022?
Yeah.
If they could redo that draft, would he still be Mr. Irrelevant? No, he'd be a first rounder.
Well,
he'd be J.J. McCarthy.
I don't know if he'd be a first rounder that people are trading up multiple picks for because, again, we talked about this a lot with Brock.
Yeah.
Would he be this good on another team?
That's a great question, but I think that they're looking at system fit and J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
We're throwing out these sort of middle of the road terms. I think J.J. McCarthy is exactly what these teams want. The other, by the way, and you say we're talking about Minnesota. You could say the same exact thing about Denver. Because Sean Payton is very much, he's a genius. He wants a quarterback to run his system, and it might be the wrong philosophy, but I think J.J. McCarthy is what coaches want. Coaches want coachable players who will do exactly what they want. They don't really want a guy who's going to bail from the pocket unless he's so incredibly dazzling like Jaden Daniels. They don't want a guy who has a gigantic arm but can't be accurate underneath. So I think J.J. McCarthy is a modern quarterback. I think he's the face of what teams want now.
855-212-4227. J.J. McCarthy is the topic. Question for you, is he going to be a star in the NFL? 855-212-4227. We say good morning to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers in the chat. YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet. Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. I was listening to the Odyssey app yesterday. That thing is awesome. It's absolutely free to download. It's crystal clear. You got rewind functions. You can catch up live. I love this app. You can download it too. That's where you can find the show. Also, SiriusXM channel 158. The question, will J.J. McCarthy be a star? Should teams be tripping over themselves to try to trade up? Plus, we got a crazy draft rumor for you. This one even, Perloff, when you do our draft rumor of the day, I don't even know if this one got on your radar. It's out there.
Nice.
We'll get that to you next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff Show. So, first segment, we had a debate. How high will J.J. McCarthy go? I got good news for you, Maggie, because you think he is probably not worth a top 5 pick based on what you've seen. Josh Norris is a writer. He's with Underdog Fantasy.
Yeah.
He's just fire on mock drafts. And he had the best mock draft, I think, ever 2 years ago. He said, I guarantee this is going to be consensus, and has J.J. not in the top 5. Like, he's a move the odds kind of guy. Then he'll fall. So, but there's so many other reporters who still have him up there. It's one of the most confusing picks ever, because not just because we don't know what teams are going to do, but he's one of the hardest prospects ever. Because we saw him for 3 years. And there was nothing on the field that said this is a top 5 pick, because they didn't let him throw the ball. So we all have common sense. Well, if the Michigan doesn't let him throw the ball, why would an NFL team? But I still think the NFL sees something different and wants something different than most of us.
I mean, think about a guy who does have this much game tape, and yet his evaluation is incomplete.
Totally incomplete, right? I mean, that's the thing. You come from whatever system you come from. It's the same with, look back at Patrick Mahomes. He was in the air raid for years. The NFL didn't want to touch air raid quarterbacks because they thought whatever you're doing in college is so different than the NFL. McCarthy's sort of the opposite. What's the opposite of an air raid? Ground and pound. He was the ground and pound quarterback. What do you do with a ground and pound quarterback? The thing that he did the most of was take 3 steps back and hand the ball off. We have a lot of tape of that. So he's a very, very confusing prospect. I still say he goes top 5, and I think he's going to be good if he goes to the right team. Now, if he goes to the Giants, who are 6, and there's possibility they trade up to get him, that's tough. That's a tough place to go.
Well, not like the Giants have any great receivers, so.
That's what I mean. No, I mean, I think he would bomb out there, but I think he'd be really good at Minnesota or Denver.
Yeah, well, listen, Minnesota, if you can't be good in Minnesota with that star power, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson, you're not going to be good.
That's the spot. You just nailed it, right? If you can't be good there, then you're not going to be good.
Now, the question we're putting out on social media for you at Maggie and Pearl, you can also call us at 855-212-4227. Is J.J. McCarthy going to be a star in the NFL? Brian is in Harrisburg, has a thought for us. Good morning, Brian. What's up?
Hey, Maggie. I just don't see NFL teams trading their draft capital for a guy that literally only had 18 passing attempts in a national championship game. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but
what is he going to do? Hand the ball off in the NFL to who? To Braylon Allen? I don't see it.
Brian, I don't see it either, and appreciate the phone call. I don't think he's going to be a star in the NFL. But
I disagree, though, because I think the teams don't care. If you only had 18 attempts, there's they like what they can't see. No, that's what teams do. It's worse in the NBA. The NBA, if you're 17 years old, they're like, "Ooh, I want this guy."
No, we're 5 minutes away from drafting fetuses into the NBA.
I know. But I think that I kind of disagree with the very premise of the fact that they didn't let him throw in the national title game. I don't think NFL teams are saying I don't think they care as much negatively as the caller did, because I think they say, well, if he is going to throw it 40 times, we'd see a productive quarterback. He could be Michael Penix or Bo Nix if he was in that system.
Right. I think also what they would say is in the championship game, when he did have to throw the ball, when he was backed up on some 3rd and longs, he was able to deliver. He played very well in that game.
Kind of.
Well, he actually played better against Alabama on some really.
I don't think he did either.
On some really exciting plays in the Alabama game more than the Washington.
I don't remember any big Yeah, I mean, he
the
was
Alabama
fine.
game, that final
the Alabama
drive,
game,
yeah.
he was really good. I don't remember much in the national title game. I mean, the game that really kills him is the Penn State game that he didn't throw the ball once in the second half. Like, that is rare for a first-round pick to not throw a ball an entire half.
So you can go to @Maggie and Pearl and vote, or you can call us at 855-212-4227. Will J.J. McCarthy be a star? Now, I think part of the J.J. McCarthy machine, some of this I think is Jim Harbaugh, who is now back in the NFL, who also holds a high pick in this draft, but the Chargers are picking 5. And I think that Harbaugh is really, to borrow a wrestling term, I think he's putting his guy over. I think it's easy for him to do. I think he wants to put J.J. McCarthy over, and he wants to sing his praises. He called him the best quarterback that Michigan's ever had. I think he's telling everybody who wants to know that J.J. McCarthy is going to blossom in the NFL to be this amazing quarterback. Now, what's interesting about the Chargers, and this brings us to our insane draft rumor of the day, there was a story that sort of broke, Perloff, and really the draft rumors are more your area of expertise here.
Draft rumors.
Listen, you're big on the draft rumors.
Meaning that they may or may not be real. That's my area of expertise. Yeah, I love it.
You revel in this. So right now, there is a rumor out there that was started by, of all people, Antonio Brown. Well, we think it was started by Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, yes, that Antonio Brown, had a social media post over the weekend. And he said he put a screen grab of a text message that he was having with what he calls his Minnesota source. He said, following up on my last text, this is a guy sending a text to Antonio Brown. AB, following up on my last text, my source in Minneapolis is saying there's some trouble with Justin Herbert's physical based around his open reduction surgery on his right index finger. My source says there's still some questions about his readiness for OTAs. If this gets confirmed as resolved, the projected trade package includes both of Minnesota's first-round picks this year, Christian Darrisaw, the offensive lineman, and also a conditional second-round pick in 2025. Yes, this is a rumor out there now that the Chargers might be interested in trading Justin Herbert to the Minnesota Vikings for a haul of draft picks and a left tackle so that the Chargers could draft J.J. McCarthy. Now, we would normally not pay attention to anything like this.
Right.
However, now the sports books are starting to move on this, Perloff. According to at least one, which is ESPN Bet, which we have, McCarthy is now an 8-1 odds to the Chargers, and the Chargers' first pick of a quarterback is now 6-1. What do you make of this?
I think that's ridiculous. I think there's no chance this happens.
This sounds like the most insane pre-draft rumor we've maybe ever heard.
I think they would have to institutionalize Jim Harbaugh if he traded away Justin Herbert.
Agree.
On the spot. Just say, like, get in that minivan you're staying at near practice and just drive to the loony bin.
Get that RV revved up and just drive it right into the ocean, because this would be insane.
Well, actually, when you were going into the Antonio Brown thing, like, immediately my mind's like, what are we doing here? Like,
I'm just trying to explain to the audience where this came from.
I hear you. Like, what are we all doing here? Like, this is our report. This is how, would be the craziest draft move in the history of the NFL draft. I don't know what year the draft started, 1936. This would be blow anything away, and it'd be so crazy that it would be the craziest move of all time. If you traded Justin Herbert in today's NFL to draft J.J. McCarthy, then I can't. My head would probably explode on Thursday night.
So what about if his finger is really an issue? I mean, I can't even really take this seriously. If the finger is an issue, then why would Minnesota be trading for someone who's got a damaged finger that could impact how he plays?
Because it's all made up.
Yes, right. Okay.
I mean, there's not a lot of precedents, but I do think of a few examples. Obviously, there's the Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray situation. That's different because obviously Josh Rosen didn't show to be.
Wait. What's the analogy with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert
that
and
J.J.
McCarthy?
College coach came to a place and said, I want my guy.
Right.
And so there's that. And then the other example that's probably a little more akin, but it involves veterans, is Josh McDaniels going to Denver and having the whole tiff with Jay Cutler, where he kind of wants Kyle Orton, and they kind of mess around. Jay Cutler's like, oh, you're calling another quarterback? Get me out of here. And then he got his guy in. So coaches are weird. We just talked about Kevin O'Connell talking about he's very picky about his quarterback. Now, apparently Harbaugh loves Justin Herbert. He's talked about it a bunch. But
isn't that the reason why he wanted the job?
That's what they say. But also, like, if the Chargers really are far away, which it looks like they are, I mean, they lost all of their receivers. How far away are they really from winning? Maybe he
already paid Herbert, so like
he didn't pay him
the previous, but like but again but he is paid, so like he's sort of locked up here. Like now, I think
it's going to make it more difficult really to build around Justin Herbert. Now, would I do this? No, I was talking to my brother over the weekend. If someone did this and I was a Charger fan,
brother used to work for the Vikings, by the way, so that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, but if someone did this and I was a Charger fan, I would leave the team. And I always say, you never leave your team. I would leave being a Charger fan if they traded Justin Herbert.
Well, also, you would never be able to trust Jim Harbaugh ever again, because that would be putting your college allegiances in front of what is actually sitting in front of you, which is Justin Herbert. Again, this is a rumor that's out there. The markets have moved, though, off of the rumor.
Well, the markets are kind of, they're funny of the draft. They're is kind of meaningless, everyone says. They don't actually pretend anything. But the one thing that's interesting to me is that there are no Chargers fans to leave. So that is one team that there's not a. Have you ever met a Chargers fan? And
I do know one.
From San Diego or LA?
No, from New York. Just love the Powder Blues, like in the 1970s.
But
and that has been with them ever since.
The entire city of San Diego turned off it, and LA doesn't embrace anyone except the Dodgers and the Lakers. So there's no Chargers fan base to make mad. But this is not. I don't know what I'm guaranteeing Patrick Ewing style. This is not happening. There is no NFL team that is trading Justin Herbert for the rights to draft J.J. McCarthy. That is never happened. The fact that you brought up Josh Rosen tells you Josh Rosen, I'm as talented as Josh Rosen is now. That Justin Herbert, this is Justin Herbert. He's probably the second or third most valuable quarterback in the entire NFL.
We have to reimagine that whole Arizona thing, because if Rosen actually is good, then I don't think that who was it? David called. Who was their coach? It was what's his face?
Well, Cliff Kingsbury.
No. Before that, the guy who got really
Steve Wilkes.
Steve Wilkes.
Right. He's still there. You know, if Rosen is good, that means the whole franchise hit on everything, and they're throwing themselves a parade. Mike is in Tucson. Speaking of Arizona.
Hi, how you doing?
The question is, do you think J.J. McCarthy will be a star in the NFL?
I don't think. I think he could be a top 15 quarterback. I don't believe that Minnesota will take him. I'm rooting for Michael Penix to get drafted by Minnesota.
And you're a Vikings fan.
Yeah. Well, the reason I am is because I'm a big Arizona Wildcat fan. I live in Tucson, and I go to all the games in both home and away. And I've seen Michael Penix up twice. That guy can. If Minnesota has some big time downfield receivers, and he can get the ball to them.
He's perfect. Well, by the way, I think the same thing with Penix and the Raiders. Get him in an indoor stadium where he can throw long to receivers. Oh, my God. I totally agree, Mike.
Mike, great call. Good. Appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. Bob is in Cleveland, has a thought on this. Bob, will J.J. McCarthy be a star?
Well, like you guys talked the other day, telling if a quarterback's going to be a star is like a... It's a potluck. I mean, you don't know who's going to develop him, what team, what fit he's going to have, where he's going to go. But he could be, but I don't think he's draftable that high. I mean, Harbaugh had the chance to drive this car in Ann Arbor, and he would only back him out onto the driveway. I mean, he wouldn't even. I mean, Harbaugh knows quarterbacks. You think he would have used him if he's seen something in him, and knowing that he wanted a national championship, maybe his stakes after college was more important, maybe to name his price when he went to the NFL. He wanted that championship by any means, and I don't know. I mean, they did get it, granted, but I think if he's seen something in him, he would have used him. I know it's been talked about, but come on, Harbaugh knows quarterbacks.
Well, and Bob,
used him if he's seen it.
It's a great point, and thank you for making it, because we did see Harbaugh when he had a talent like Colin Kaepernick when he was in the NFL. Kaepernick was, he
didn't throw that much, though.
But he was a talent that obviously Harbaugh was like, listen, his bread is buttered with using his legs and using his arms. And of course, they did have a good run game. They got to the Super Bowl, but he used all the tools that Colin Kaepernick had.
Did he?
Yes.
I don't know. I felt like that was still a run. It was still quite a conservative. They were a pounding team.
Well, they had Frank Gore and a great offensive line.
I don't feel like he wants a wide open attack under any circumstances. I'm sure they were in the bottom 10 in pass attempts that year.
But think about it. When it was like money on the line, Super Bowl, he put the ball in Colin Kaepernick's hands.
Yeah, but I just think like that again, like that was a Jim Harbaugh offense. He does not want. I don't think Kaepernick had anywhere near 4,000 yards in his career. Like they want a they want to be one of the bottom 10 passing teams in the league. They want to run. Even Andrew Luck, I think his numbers were really neutered with Harbaugh. He does not want to throw the ball. He just doesn't. And that's why they're so interesting. Why would they draft a receiver or a quarterback? We're talking about them trading for a quarterback. Like they want big offensive linemen and running backs, just like Michigan. So I think that's what, to answer that call, I think people view Harbaugh as sort of an interesting guy. Like he's unique. So the fact that Harbaugh didn't want to use him, I don't think that scares away the NFL. Do you think has Harbaugh ever thrown the ball a lot in any situation?
No, but if you can't throw the ball, you can't win in this league.
He can. He didn't throw the ball in San Francisco and he got the Super Bowl.
Justin Herbert and you're not throwing the ball, that's ludicrous. He's got probably the biggest arm in the NFL. Him and Josh. I mean,
yeah, it's really maybe that makes he will trade because I don't think he wants to throw the ball. I think he wants to control it. I mean, this dude, look at what he did at Michigan in today's NFL football game. In college, everyone throws it everywhere in college football, and then he comes along. He's like, I'm good. I'm just going to run it every single play.
No, he did that because he basically had the 85 Bears defense of college defenses.
I don't think so. I think he designed it that way. I think he would rather do it that way.
855-212-4227. So you got two things there for you. Should the Chargers be trading for should they be drafting a quarterback, and should a Justin Herbert trade be on the table? I don't even know why I'm even saying that. Coming out of my mouth, that sounded ridiculous. But you are welcome to weigh in. Also, our poll question day, do you think J.J. McCarthy will be a star in the NFL? Andrew Bogusch is joining us from headquarters somewhere parts unknown. Good morning, Bogusch. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Your headlines are sponsored by Progressive. Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today. It was so nice of the road teams to finally check in the NBA playoffs. The home clubs unbeaten through the first 3 days of the postseason, but then Luka scored 32 to lead the Mavs to a 96-93 win over the Clippers in LA, and Pascal Siakam outdueled Damian Lillard in Game 2 in Milwaukee.
Right edge Neesmith into the lane. Siakam turns and delivers one more time. Milwaukee takes a timeout. The Pacers have their largest lead of the night. 9:17 left in the fourth. 100-88 Indiana.
That's Mark Boyle on Pacers Radio. Indy cruising to a 125-108 series tying win. Siakam finished with 37 points and 11 boards, making him the first player since Wilt in 1967 to open the postseason with back-to-back 35-10 games, not to mention the experience the former champ brings to Rick Carlisle's club.
He's constantly saying, keep your edge, keep your edge, keep your edge. I mean, he's been through these things too many times.
The Pacers got Siakam before this year's trade deadline. Only the T-Wolves won at home last night, 105-93 for a 2-0 lead on the Suns. Rudy Gobert, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 1 block, 2 assists, 3 steals. Numbers not befitting the NBA's most overrated player, but that's what Gobert was named in a recent anonymous player poll at The Athletic. He's also likely to win his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. That doesn't help either, but at least he's got the support of his longtime girlfriend, Julia Bonilla, which is better than Perloff's support. Julia went on social media on Monday and wrote, quote, "My partner is the most dedicated, focused, hardworking person I have ever met. He hasn't stolen anything from anyone and deserves all the respect for his determination and commitment to his career."
Man, I get the urge and the instinct for family members to try to defend, or significant others to try to defend their athletes and stuff on social media. It just never ends well. Whether it's like CeeDee Lamb's mom on Facebook calling out Dak Prescott, or whether it's something that's just as simple as this, just sort of defending, like he didn't steal anything. It's like, you don't even want to wade into these waters, Don't put yourself in the fray and the crosshairs. Like, I get it. I've had people in my family who've wanted to like clap back at, people who criticize. I remember the first time I ever got criticized online, someone said my voice sounded like Fran Drescher from The Nanny. And I swear my Uncle Wayne was going to hunt down this person and was going to kick their butt. I said, listen, this is what happens when you put yourself in front of the public eye.
Did Uncle Wayne tweet out, well, Maggie hasn't stolen anything? That's like kind of a low bar. Like, well, you know what? He's not a felon. Wait, what's that we're talking about?
I did steal the award from Wemby.
Yeah, I just...
Not like, did he steal, Shohei Ohtani's, bank account?
No, I mean, obviously, his claim to fame is touching all those mics the eve of COVID. Like, that, right. He, first of all, never come back from that.
Probably not.
That was one of the worst moves an athlete's ever done. But I don't think, nobody's saying he's a bad guy. They're just saying, well, what are they saying about Rudy? They're just saying he's overrated because everyone knows he's winning Defensive Player of the Year, and he's a massive defensive liability in the playoffs because... This round is not happening because Phoenix Suns have never practiced basketball together. They don't even know they don't even know their name. Like, they're the most disorganized, worst run team I've ever seen. But wait till somebody gets Rudy Gobert up high on the pick and roll. They're going to kill him. So it's just weird. He's overrated, right?
I will say, though, if there's Suns don't practice basketball, but why can't they exploit him? I mean, I'm watching the game last night.
Because it's one-on-one. There's no picks. There's no pick and roll. There's no offense.
They're screens. They don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, he looks really good in this series. He's making a difference.
But is he look good or the Suns look bad? Regardless,
a little bit of both, I think. He dominated the game last night, no question.
Dominated what game? Bradley Beal was dribbling around, is looking for someone. But the Suns are a disaster. I have a friend who tweeted out something funny. He goes, they're like a bunch of guys a lifetime who got together for a pickup game and has no idea what the other strengths are. I just think this is
which is probably not that far off. They have bad body language too. I mean, they just do not look cohesive.
I like what you said, Maggie. Though you really don't want your girlfriend to come out and defend you, but this is the day to do it. Up 2-0 at home. I think Rudy's having a moment now, so you can jump in. To
be fair, she did it before the game.
Right. But I'd like to see, is it different if you come out after they lose the series to the Nuggets, then defend them, then it sounds bad. But I think when you're up 2-0, you can stand up for your man.
That's the only time when you're in command of the series.
You got to be smart. If you're going to support a family member, make sure they're doing well. You don't want to come down at a down moment because then you sound ridiculous. You sound defensive.
Yeah.
But I knew, by the way, that EJ was into the T-Wolves. He's been trying to sell this team to me all year long.
And you were trying to buy the Suns, and look how it turned out.
I dumped that stock in February.
What else we got, Bogusch?
We've got hockey playoffs. The Predators got a split in Vancouver 4-1, and the Avalanche got a split in Winnipeg 5-2. The Panthers, though, have a 2-0 lead on the Lightning after a 3-2 OT win, and the Rangers held off the Caps 4-3 for their own 2-0 lead. The Anaheim Angels had lost 5 straight, so they put Mike Trout in the leadoff spot for the first time in 4 years.
Here's Trout lifting a ball high and deep out into right center field, and that ball is Trout here. He just hit it out.
Out of here to right center field. Terry Smith, Angels Radio. Trout's first leadoff homer since 2012, and Anaheim does snap that 5-game skid 7-4 over the Orioles.
Maggie, why aren't you ripping that guy for a dad joke? That's a dad joke, right, Bogusch? Trout here?
It's not new though.
I've already voiced my lack of support for Trout here.
That's been around. Sorry, I didn't know that.
I've already said I think we can do better.
Hashtag dad joke. I love it. Trout here, awesome.
Andrew McCutchen led off the bottom of the first with a homer for the second straight day. His Pirates beat the Brewers 2-1, and that reported Caitlin Clark deal with Nike is apparently worth $28 million over 8 years. Guys, back to you.
Not bad. Bogusch, thank you so much for that update. We see you guys on the phones. You want to talk about this big trade rumor, and that would be the Chargers potentially trading with the Minnesota Vikings with quarterbacks on the table. Also, we're asking you our poll question today. Do you think J.J. McCarthy is going to be a star in the NFL? A lot of noise around teams just tripping over themselves to trade up for J.J. McCarthy as we're a day out from the first round of the NFL draft. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. We are getting 1 day away from the draft. Rumors flying around. To recap in the show, we're getting into this. I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Yeah, say it.
Antonio Brown tweeted that there might be reasons that the Vikings and Chargers could trade Justin Herbert for the rights to draft J.J. McCarthy. It's still, it doesn't, you said it doesn't sound weird coming out of your mouth. I'm telling you, that would be the craziest draft day trade of all time. And there wouldn't even, in any sport, ever. I kept trying to think of another draft. What's a famous draft day trade? Nothing would come close to that because Justin Herbert is the dream.
Yeah.
He's a young quarterback with all the skill in the world. No coach would trade him for anybody, let alone 6'2", 205-pound J.J. McCarthy.
Well, I guess it would be like the Herschel Walker trade of its day because when Herschel Walker was traded, running backs were quarterbacks then in terms of who the stars of the teams were, how much of the load they carried, who you thought you needed to be the focal point of your offense. So I guess it'd be like I don't say modern day Herschel Walker, but it'd be an updated Herschel Walker.
It's a good analogy. It's still like you look back on it, you're like Justin Herbert's 50 times more valuable than Herschel Walker was. And when they, did the Herschel Walker trade, Herschel had one 1,000-yard season. He wasn't dominant. I think Justin Herbert's dominant. And
I'm with you.
Yeah, I wish so. The odds that moved up to 6-1 that the Chargers would take a quarterback with their first pick. I wish I could short that because this cannot happen. And it gets back to what you were saying. J.J. McCarthy, his upside is not Justin Herbert. His upside is Kirk Cousins.
Right. So we're asking you on social media today. You can find us at Maggie and Pearl on Twitter. Is J.J. McCarthy going to be a star in the NFL? Yeah. Do you think he's going to be a star? And listen, we know two things, right? Or we believe two things. We believe that Arizona is definitely open for business. GM came out and said it. I think the Chargers would probably be open too, unless this crazy quarterback thing happens. But if they're just a normal team picking under normal circumstances, if somebody really wants to trade with them for 5, I think they would trade out of that pick.
Oh, they're 1,000% interested in trade. Everyone knows the Chargers want out of that spot.
Right, and I think that's also, let's be honest, maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's some J.J. McCarthy hype machine is coming from the Chargers because they want to try to get a market for him because they might want to trade out of the pick.
Absolutely. Now, the thing is, if you're Denver, say you want J.J. McCarthy, can you trade to 5 knowing that somebody could jump you and get to 4, and then you're stuck at 5 drafting a wide receiver? So to me, one of the most interesting things about this draft is there's all these potential trades for the 4 and 5 pick. Like, do you have the guts, if you're a GM, to wait till draft night to make that trade? I could not do it. Like, what if you call Monty Ossenfort, the Cardinals GM, and the line is busy and you want to make this trade? Something happens. It's so risky to do that trade for your franchise quarterback that night. You got to make a trade now, and nobody's doing it.
I get it, but Adam Schefter had his sort of news and notes column yesterday or 2 days ago about what he's hearing before the draft. And the first nugget out of that column was the Cardinals are not making a trade until draft night. They want all last and finals. They want to see how robust this quarterback market really is. And they're open for business, but not until they're on the clock.
There's a video from last year's draft of Monty Ossenfort, who famously traded out of 3, then traded back up to get a tackle, just working phones like a madman. I think Monty Ossenfort is feeling himself, has a little hubris about his ability to make draft night trades because people like he's a madman on those cell phones. Would you be worried, Maggie? Like what if you went to a part of the building that had bad service and you missed a call from the Raiders?
That doesn't happen.
I just think there's so much stress to put on yourself as a GM to make this trade. If the Vikings really want J.J. McCarthy, I would do it now, but that's just me. Like, I think that teams are really playing with fire to wait till the last minute.
I love how we think about these NFL draft war rooms, right? And how much pressure is packed into these moments and how intense these things are. And Perloff thinks it's like around here where like the printer might not work or like you have a dead spot in the building and all of a sudden you don't get a franchise quarterback. I don't think it works that way.
Are you sure? You don't think there's ever been a technological problem that has screwed up a draft pick?
Well, I didn't one year someone didn't get it in on time.
Well, there was a lot of people who used to have to fax in deals, and that would get screwed up all the time. Remember Elvis Dumerville got stuck with the wrong team?
Agency, I think.
Yeah. Used to have to fax in official deals. You're telling me there's never been a missed call like an unknown number came in, like a guy had. It's definitely happened, Maggie. You think these NFL war rooms are run scientifically? I see Jerry in Dallas. It feels like a vague party going on there that they may or may not be focusing on the draft.
Well, I mean, if Mel Kiper's got 4 landlines that we learned yesterday, I mean, you can do. I think they're going to be okay. I can't imagine they go through the normal things, because why have you been prepping and planning and going through scenarios just for a cell phone call to drop?
No. But it is a risky game. I mean, they're calling it pocket deals. You have a deal in the pocket. But then again, you definitely put more pressure on yourself to get the best deal. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely, the Cardinals are in a tougher spot doing a draft night, because then they're like, I don't know, is another deal coming in? There's 2 minutes left on the clock. What do we do, Maggie? What do we do? There's 2 minutes. I'm panicking. I'm
now so glad that Perloff is not in a front office.
Oh, you should see me on the night of a fantasy draft. I'm a ball of nerves.
You'd never make it, man. 855-212-4227. Will J.J. McCarthy be a star? We check in with the Cowboys next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Jerry Jones was on one yesterday. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We get back to the top of the draft in just a moment, but we've got to take a detour here because the Cowboys and every team generally holds a press conference before the draft. They're usually pretty short. They're usually pretty innocuous. Like, there's not much that a GM really says before this because nothing's happened yet. So here come the Cowboys, who've got Jerry, Stephen Jones, and Mike McCarthy up there on the dais. And it went an hour. And it was not even about the draft. It was all about how the Cowboys have done nothing in free agency. They've sat this entire free agency out. It was all about still trying to convince the public and the Cowboy fans that they want Dak Prescott as their quarterback, and how they still are somehow find themselves and believe they are all in. Yep. It was rambling. It was at times incoherent. They were trying to give this, kind of a lecture about the salary cap, like no one understands it. All in all, I don't think it accomplished what they thought it was going to accomplish.
Well, it made me realize we spent a lot of time since the Super Bowl in early February talking about the Dallas Cowboys offseason, and it dawned on me we've been completely wasting our time because we've been using something called logic. There is none of that going on. You could hear it in Dallas. There's no logic going on. So I think everything we know about how football teams operate, I think Jerry's turning on its head. He keeps saying we're all in when they're the exact opposite of all in. Everything they've done is not all in. And now he keeps saying we're all in. So up is down, left is right. Every dogs and cats living together in Dallas. Yeah. Basically, he's on a different path. He just is. So that's why we've been arguing a lot. Will they re-sign Dak Prescott? Now, honestly, I think you might reasonably throw your hands in the air and say, I have no idea what this team is doing because they're going on their own path.
Yeah, let's hear a little of Jerry. So about the all-in, let's hear cut 7. Jerry Jones says the Cowboys are all in on free agency.
The question is, in my mind, about all of this, how do we feel about where we've been in this free agency? We feel great about what we've been in free agency. All in. All in. All in. We're all in with these young guys coming on. And we're all in with this draft. And we're all in with knowing that you have to go. You can't have, we've had adjustments.
Yeah, you can actually hear Stephen Jones. If we can isolate, Stephen Jones is great. He's such a great sidekick for Jerry. He's a son, obviously, but he's also such a great sidekick because he provides the laugh track when things get uncomfortable. And the moment that Jerry says all in, you hear Stephen, he's like, oh.
We're all in with these young guys coming on.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to clean this up later.
Dad.
with every reporter in the room.
Dad, what are you doing here? Oh my God. I think a lot of us have been in that situation with, I think now my kids are like, Dad, why are you doing that? That's one of those situations.
You know, everybody who signs Eric Kendricks and Royce, Royce Freeman, that's all in on everyone's free agency. That's
all in.
Their first signing was a long snapper.
Right. So that was just some of the parts of it. But as far as the Dak Prescott thing is concerned, He did say that he sees continual improvement with Dak Prescott, and they want Dak Prescott back. Cut one, they want him back.
We want Dak Prescott. So that's that.
There you go. And that's that. And that, my friends,
That's what?
is that. That's everything. I mean, I could play you 30 more seconds, but that is what's going on.
I got a theory.
Oh, go.
Can we play the quote about where he's running the option? Jerry's running the option.
Yeah, great. Jerry, as a GM and an owner, feels like he runs the option like a quarterback would.
It's called option.
Yeah.
A lot of guys need to hand it off. First guy through the line. Another one will keep it another step. Decide whether to pitch it or not. He'll decide whether to turn upfield with it. Then he's still got a pitch left. So it's called option quarterback. That's working the problem. That's working the problem. I've spent my life being an option quarterback. And I can go right out to the damn sideline and still leave a pitch in me. So I can do that. And that's just a style.
Okay. First of all, that's objectively hysterical. I'm picturing Jerry running the option back in his Arkansas days. Here is what I think is in the back of his mind.
Okay.
I think he thinks maybe I have an option in this year's draft to leverage against Dak. Does that possibly mean I'm taking a quarterback? If Michael Penix is there at 24, he's saying, well, I want to see where the draft falls.
Right.
Maybe that's where he's going. Maybe he's sneakily saying, oh, I'm going to draft a quarterback.
Right.
That's my option. And that gives me all the power over Dak. And then I don't have to sign Dak. So he's waiting to see where the cards fall. I mean, again, I'm assigning logic
No, that's
here.
generous. No.
Yeah, that's the option. His option pitch is to draft a quarterback here.
Yeah, I mean, we should already say that they spent the first 25 minutes of this hour press conference just simply talking about how great the offensive line and what a priority it is, and they kind of felt like they were leaning that way, but who knows? Jerry's trying to tell you he still's got maneuvers left.
Right.
And he's also trying to tell you that his negotiating style is thus. He doesn't want to reset the market, even though he's going to end up doing it anyway. He wants to wait and see about CeeDee Lamb, about Parsons, and about Dak Prescott. And Stephen Jones at one point says, listen, you don't think the agents for all these guys are talking to each other. The agents are talking, and they're going to try to figure out how they want to reset the market. And I think everyone in the room said to the Cowboys, well, listen, you can reset the market now or later, because these guys are going to get paid at the top. Congratulations, you drafted great players, and now it's time for them to get paid. So if you want to keep them, most likely you're going to end up resetting the market unless something, unforeseen happens, like they take less money or I don't know what.
Or he gets rid of them.
But I really don't think they're getting rid of Lamb and Parsons. I think that'd be crazy.
Well, they haven't they're going to pay them. I think the Dak, will they get rid of? I'm going back to this quarterback thing. He wanted to draft Manziel in 2014. Everybody knew that. Right. And they had Tony Romo in his prime. And then he famously in 2016 wanted to draft Paxton Lynch. Still had Tony Romo. Right. Ended up missing on Paxton Lynch and got Dak Prescott. I think his big play here is a draft, and maybe he drafts a wide receiver to leverage CeeDee Lamb. I think he's like, well, I can't get all three. One of them has to be replaced, and it won't be Parsons. He's untouchable.
Right. So
the question is, are they going to play hardball, try and get a cheaper version of Dak or CD?
Listen, it would be a statement. It certainly would. It'd be a hell of a negotiating tactic, and I would think that Jerry may have his fastball back if they actually did. Now, the problem is, if you take a Penix or something, that's a guy who is kind of ready to go. Is he really going to sit for a season behind Dak Prescott? Sure,
1 year,
I guess he could, but he's already, isn't he 23, 24?
He's 23, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, who cares?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are playing later. But again, if you're trying to win on a quarterback's rookie deal, and I know it's just 1 year, but if you are trying to win on the rookie deal, you kind of want to, especially with a seasoned quarterback. Michael Penix was 4 years at Indiana and then 2 years at Washington, or 3 years at Indiana?
I think it was 3 years, but
he's played a lot of football. I don't know if this is somebody who needs to be sitting.
Well, yeah, but you want to win on the rookie contract, but I don't think anyone's ever really won
not
the
with
first
a
year.
rookie. No.
The first year, you're not going to win, so it's a second year because Mahomes won his second year, right? He sat the first year and came in his second year, so you're really playing that second year. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not ideal. It's not ideal that you're going to have $60 million of dead cap next year or something, or basically everything about this Dak thing is a mess. But Jerry's running option, Maggie. What you don't understand is there's a flip. He's going to be close to sideline. You think he's running the ball? Nope. Flips it out to the running back. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, I would watch that pick. That is going to be a wild scene because I think Jerry thinks he has a trick in his sleeve. I think he thinks he's smarter than everybody.
You know, I will place a gentlewoman's bet on this one. I think the Cowboys are all smoke here. I really do.
Yeah, they usually are.
I think that the 24th pick and however the board falls to them is going to be safe. It's going to be middle of the road. It's going to make sense. It's going, this is the time of year when they metaphorically duct tape Jerry's mouth shut and bound him and throw him in a closet so that they can make their first round pick. And I think they're going to do, again, metaphorically, I think they're going to do that. He's out there to sell the team and be the showman and sell hope and all in and all that. I think when push comes to shove, they're taking an offensive lineman or something like that.
Right. Well, I think, honestly, they better focus on interior defense. Like the middle of the field defense is a disaster right now. Yeah, you're right. They could replace Tyron Smith. You're right. They always go with the boring pick, which is so funny because they project this image that they are the spicy Dallas team. You never know what they're going to do. I don't know. It's just like he's been talking all in. At some point, does he have to deliver in any real way on this all-in promise?
All in.
No, because he's the owner of the team and the GM. He's accountable to nobody except himself.
So he can just keep saying whatever he wants?
I mean, other GMs can't act like this because they're worried about their jobs. He's not. So that's why he can say these kinds of things, and nobody really can hold him accountable because the buck stops with him.
Yeah, this is really good. I can't argue against that because he wanted Johnny and he took Zach Martin. Brilliant move.
Yeah, brilliant. Guys go to the Hall of Fame.
I think last year, by the way, he did not want the draft. They drafted Mozzie Smith at 26.
Interior defense.
They clearly wanted the guy that Buffalo took, Dalton Kincaid, who went 25. The Bills traded above the Cowboys. So they just can't get this sexy pick. They keep on getting these linemen. So
2 more things about Jerry here. Number 1, I think everyone has had a boss like this at some point. Like Jerry's the kind of boss I'm starting to feel like he's the kind of boss who speaks in such big metaphors and never really gets to the point. And he's one of those bosses where you just leave the meeting and you're so confused. Like, what does this guy want me to do? Am I supposed to? I'm going on the road. I'm not going on the road. I'm turning in the reports. I'm not turning in the reports. Like, what does this guy want? And
I can go right out to the damn sideline.
Yep.
And still leave a pitch in me.
All right, so go out there and let's improve our bottom line. Okay, boss, got it. What the hell did he want us to do?
All in.
You're in sports media. You've never heard the word bottom line in your life.
Different kind of bottom line, bro.
Yeah. But, yeah, I understand. But at a certain point, Jerry's got to make a move. What is he, 81 now? 80, 81? He's like, man, before I die, I'm going to make one pick. Give me one pick. Give me one pick. Move over Will McClain. Move over Steven. Just give me the remote. I am making this choice. I tell you, there's one more pick left in this man, Maggie.
Like Ezekiel Elliott was probably the last pick he had, and now he's got another one. This was another random one here from Jerry when he talks about where they are in the draft, and they're picking 24th, right? So. Well, what does that exactly mean?
There's a very reason why we're 24th out of 32 teams draft that we get to pick a player this time. Because we were the 24th best in the NFL, according to the rules. And so we get to pick, everybody gets to pick before us up to 24.
Wait a minute. That's not how this goes. That's not how this thing works.
Sounds right to me.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
You're the 24th best team, so that's why you're picking 24th?
That's why the Chiefs are picking 32.
The 32nd best team. And that's what everyone says about this dynasty.
Yeah, no, Jerry's lost it, no doubt, but it's still entertaining.
That one was funny because that comes after this really long, back and forth with Jane Slater and all these other reporters about what the salary cap is. So Jerry's explaining it to everyone like they're 5. And I get it, fine. But then he goes and says this right after. And it's like, It's like nobody should question my negotiating style because we're the 24th best team in the NFL. Yeah. That's why we're picking 24th. It's like, wait, what?
Well, they play like it in a playoff game.
That's true.
Very true.
It was
maybe the most accurate thing he said in that entire press conference.
Because we were the 24th best in the NFL, according to the rules.
Jerry's playing by a different set of rules, guys. We don't even know these rules. They're somewhere.
I mean, this press conference confirmed to me that he has nothing to do with the Dallas Cowboys' success over the last 3 years. Nothing. I'm not giving them any credit. And I've been someone who's defended Jerry Jones because of the rosters he's put together that I think are still pretty damn good.
Wait, EJ, have you ever seen their war room? You remember last year?
It looks like the Death Star.
Yeah, they picked Deuce Vaughn, right? And his father works for the team. So the viral video of all of them celebrating. And Jerry's in the middle. How many people are in that room? 50?
Yeah.
He's not doing anything.
He's not doing anything.
No.
Because there's no way.
It's emeritus at this point.
I know that they struggle in the playoffs. I know that they choke all the time. There's no way that guy I saw who was talking about option pitches and being the 24th best team in the NFL is putting together rosters are winning 12 games a year. There's no way.
EJ, the way you know that Jerry's not making these picks is because by the time he gets through all that explanation about the option quarterback and all that, the time's up. Your 10 minutes is up. Goodell's already moved on to the next team. If they let Jerry do this, they'd never make a pick. So it's
incredible.
Yeah, no,
a lot of guys need to hand it off. First guy through the line. Another one will keep it
With
another
the first
step.
Pick.
Decide whether to pitch it or not.
The Jets
He'll
are on the
decide
clock
whether
now.
to turn up field with it. Then he's
Thank
still
you
got
for
a
joining
pitch
us
left.
at the NFL draft.
So it's called option quarterback. That's working the problem.
Day 2 is tomorrow.
That's working the problem. I've spent my life.
All right, we're starting day 2 of the draft.
Quarterback.
Who's the best
And
available
I can go
left
right
in
out
day
to the
2?
damn sideline and still leave a pitch in me.
All right, day 3 in the draft.
So
Here we
I
go.
can do that.
Round 4.
Just
Yeah.
a style.
And Mr. Irrelevant is Brock Purdy. There you go. And that puts a wrap on it.
But can I ask
Thank
you guys,
Detroit.
are we going under on Dallas? Like they can't keep doing this, right? They're going to fall. They're not going to win 12 games this year.
Well,
Tell me they're not going to win 12.
They basically said we've been charging things on a credit card since Dak has been getting paid, and now we can't do that anymore.
I just looked at their win
Whose
total.
fault is that?
It's 9.5. They've been blowing away there. They've been over on their win total 4 years in a row. I'm a little worried. As an Eagles fan, I listen. I'm like, oh wow, they're a mess in Dallas. But you guys just convinced me that Jerry's a mess, but there's somebody smart back there. This makes me nervous again.
Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. I like that question. Does Jerry deserve any credit for these 12-win seasons that the Cowboys have been putting together? Listen, in the playoffs, it hasn't gone their way, but does he deserve credit for these good teams that the Cowboys have been putting together? Now, Leland's in Sacramento, big 49er fan, so probably loves hearing all this nonsense from Jerry Jones. Leland, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Maggie. I'm doing good. Jerry Jones, he is the man. I mean, I have elderly people in my family, and nobody can even keep up with this guy. At 81 years old, but he can even, form some kind of relevant conversation. I want to say, I'll tip my hat to him. God bless him.
Leland, that's the right attitude about Jerry's press conference. Just happy that he's there. He made it. He's dressed. He probably drove himself there. All that good stuff.
He's the check. Perloff, that's the only thing he does in these last 12 seasons.
Yeah.
He signs the checks.
Yeah, he signs the checks. Yep, because of the oil money and the cowboy money. What else you got, Leland?
Absolutely. Hey, I was curious what you guys think is going on with the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk. I think the 49ers are posturing to trade him and let him go. It seems like their strategy is to avoid high-paying people, try to save money for Brock Purdy. They got rid of Eric Armstead, and I think there's other 49ers that are getting have big contracts that are going to be dealt with in the coming years. But I think Brandon's done.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like John Lynch said we can't have everybody, and he said that in the media. David Lombardi's reporting, no, they're going to keep him, and other people are saying, no, they're going to let him go. What do you guys think? Because I can't really get a beat on it.
Yep, Leland, great question, and could be one of the big stories of the draft. We've seen wide receivers get traded on draft night before. A.J. Brown, famously to Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles, stunned everybody. This could be the story coming out of round 1.
I heard someone, some report, maybe it was Schefter, saying they want a pick in the 20s for Brandon Ayuk. There's no way this is happening because Tyreek Hill got a pick in the 20s, Devontae Adams got a pick in the 20s, and A.J. Brown got a pick in the 20s. Brandon Ayuk is not on that level. Am I wrong about Brandon Ayuk? Because you're paying you're trading a pick for the right to pay this guy a ton of money. And I'm sorry, he's on the next tier to me. I do not want to trade up a huge asset to pay him $30 million a year. There's no way I'm doing that.
I'll tell you who I'm nervous about.
Who, the Jags? Oh.
No, my Buffalo Bills. Now, I would like to think
what's that pick?
that they wouldn't do it, 28. I would like to think that they wouldn't do it because I think you're right. I love Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
I think he's great. $30 million feels a little steep for him. That's a lot. And you just are kind of getting off of paying Stephon Diggs. Do I think Ayuk is as good as Diggs was when they made that trade and paid Diggs? I do not. I do like Ayuk, but I could see the Bills, if they're feeling desperate, if they're feeling like, hey, we're ready to win now, I don't know if we trust a rookie receiver to come in and contribute right away, and we still want to show everybody how all in we are and how Josh Allen and the window hasn't closed. I could see the Bills being there. I hope they don't, but...
Yeah, I know he's talking about that Lombardi report. I agree with all the reporting that says that they're not going to get what they want for Ayuk. So if you're the Niners and you're on the verge of a Super Bowl, would you trade Brandon Ayuk for a third-round pick? No, right?
Well, the question is, would he show up, and is he going to be a pain in the you-know-what if he doesn't get paid this year because he'd be going into the contract year? Nick Bosa didn't show up, and Debo held in, and there's been a precedent here where these guys, they hold out or hold in until they get paid.
Yeah, I still would risk it because unless you're going to get something, what are you going to get? It's not worth it to me. I would just hold on to him. I do not think that first-round pick happens at all.
What about a second? I mean, if you get a high second, I think you're doing it.
A high second? Again, I don't think a team wants to do that. I really don't think people view Ayuk that way. I could be dead wrong, but
okay,
a
but you're
high
telling me
second.
Even like the Chargers or something. Now, the Chargers, that might be a little tough.
No, they have cap issues already.
And they've got some cap issues, but again,
yeah, I understand. Everyone would want a Brandon Ayuk, but there are these teams that would want him in the position to pay him what he wants. I don't. I think it's going to be hard to make all those puzzle pieces fit.
Yeah, this is the one thing I'm looking at. I think this guy could get traded. This guy, Brandon Ayuk. I think that he could get traded on Friday. Excuse me, on Thursday. Thursday or Friday, actually. I'm going to leave myself open for both days. I think he could be the blockbuster trade that goes down in round 1 or in round 2.
If you're if you're the Niners and the second round pick and you're on the verge of a Super Bowl, would you give up your number 1 receiver for a second round pick?
I think they would because, again, they've paid everybody and they still need to pay Purdy. And that's going to happen not this season, but next season. And I think they would try to trade Debo if they could, but I think you're getting more for Ayuk than Debo. And I think they would probably look at themselves, look at this draft, say, wow, this is a deep wide receiver draft. Brock can throw the ball to anyone. You still have the most important pieces there, which are Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey, and I think they would do it.
All right,
yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. 855-212-4227. Okay, coming up next, lots to do, including a sleeper team who could be on the clock for a QB. Get to that next. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Infinity Sports Network. We get to sleeper teams who need a quarterback or might be picking a quarterback in just a moment, because I got to bring you this. I thought this was a headline that I didn't really believe. And this is attractive women apparently make men tell the truth more. And so let me tell you what I'm talking about. Attractive women inspire men to tell the truth and women to lie. This is according to a study in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization. The research aimed to reveal how a woman's appearance impacts the moral behavior of others. So according to this study, 110 individuals, a questionnaire with an image of a woman attached. They falsely told the participants that the woman in the picture was the scientist who was leading the study. So they gave half the questionnaires a picture of a woman who is very typically attractive and the other a less attractive woman. And they found out that men were more likely to behave more honestly when they believed they were interacting with a beautiful woman, while the opposite pattern was seen in female participants who exhibited, quote, a beauty penalty toward attractive women. That's what the study showed. Now, let's take the women's side about this away for a second. Let's just focus on the men's side for this. In any of our real life instances, do you find that men tell the truth more to attractive women, or do they lie more to attractive women? Because I kind of feel like it's the latter.
Yeah, that would be the cliche. You would lie to a pretty woman.
Yeah, right. And apparently it's not true. Apparently men are getting really honest when women are the more beautiful they are, according to this study.
Wait, I'm having a little trouble understanding. Are you more likely to believe a pretty woman? Is that part of this too? Is it also?
It was answer the questions more honestly.
So it's more, okay.
It's a questionnaire, and you're answering it more honestly when you believe the person who's giving you the questions is a very attractive person.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I mean, attractive people seem to have more power because you want to please them.
Is that it? I always thought it was like, men, are by attractive woman, all of a sudden they're on the cell phone. They're like, all right, close the deal. I don't care if it's $500,000. I said, get that deal done. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it right there. Or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's no way. Like, shout out to the people who tried to make the study, I guess. I don't think that this was a very scientific way to do this.
Yeah.
Because a picture saying this is a person that came up with these questions, I don't think that really matters as much. I think this is a little more random.
It's not the real life interaction of being at the bar.
If you're in front of a person or you're actually trying to, trying to bag a girl or whatever, the more likely scenario is the hotter they are, the more you try to embellish what you do, who you are. It's just a fact. That's why when men are 5'9" and they say they're 6 foot in their dating profile, this is why they do that. Because they want to try to attract the most attractive people.
Yeah.
This is common sense. I don't understand this.
Well, because I think the flaw might be that they're not talking exclusively, right, about just like flirting. Like these are actual conversations.
I don't know the nature of the questions, but are you more likely to get super honest, vulnerable, something like that? I would think no. I think that men, if they're, if there's a pretty woman even in the vicinity, all of a sudden all the vulnerability seems to go away and you're trying to project more, confidence and all that.
Who ran this study? An attractive woman and a male?
It was a sorority. It was a bunch of hot girls at Delta Gamma.
There you go.
Yeah. they're now running studies in the
EJ Stewart study is just watch any NBA or any NFL athlete talking to Taylor Rooks and how many lies that come out, and that study will tell you that the hotter the woman, the more lies that come out of the men.
That is the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization. I don't know if they're fans of Taylor's pod, but I do know that I am. I love Taylor. She's a friend, and also yes, men are basically tripping over themselves to impress her. All right, Bogusch is here. He's got headlines. Hello.
Hello again. The LA Clippers had Kawhi Leonard on the floor for the first time since March 31st for Game 2 with the Mavs, but maybe that was the problem. The Clippers settling for a split at home, losing Game 2, 96-93. Luka and Kyrie combining for 55 points. Kawhi had 15, 7 of 17 shooting over 35 minutes.
Just been rehabbing, trying to get on the floor. But, we still got more games to play, more time to get better, and, that's what I'm focused on.
Still no Giannis for the Bucks. They fall at home to the Pacers, 125-108, so that series 1-1 as well. Damian Lillard, another big first half, 26 points, but only 8 in the second. Pascal Siakam led Indy with 37 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. The T-Wolves got a postseason career-high 25 points from Jaden McDaniels in a 105-93 decision over the Suns. McDaniels also had a huge role in keeping Phoenix's big three to 18 of 45 shooting.
It's a great feeling. I mean, not playing last year, I was kind of antsy to play this, the first game and this game. So just being in this environment and being in the playoffs, it's a dream come true for me.
The T-Wolves have a 2-0 series lead for just the second time in team history. Sixers guard Tyrese Maxey had an up-and-down Tuesday. He's the NBA's most improved player after making his first All-Star game and setting career highs in multiple categories, including points, assists, and threes. But then the league told him he was fouled twice in the final seconds of their Game 2 loss at the Knicks. The refs missed those calls. 1 Nick Nurse timeout request, 4 total calls, but no excuses for Maxey.
We still had chances to win the game. I got my layup blocked, and then, we missed a 3 at the end to tie. So we can't dwell on that. We can't leave the games in other people's hands. We got to go out there and take it.
And specifically for him, one of the fouls that wasn't called was him getting knocked to the court and then throwing the ball away.
Wait, so the NBA...
I gotta be strong with the ball. I gotta be able to, when I get on the floor, I gotta be able to just hug it and call a timeout. But, it is what it is. It happened. You gotta let it go. You can't dwell on it now.
Good DJ on TNT.
I was like, wow, that made that a lot more upbeat. Okay, so here's my big question. All those missed fouls, I want to get Perloff's thoughts on this in a second, but they are acknowledging that Nick Nurse did call the timeout?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but and I'm not sure if this is the video that was circulating of him not making a strong enough timeout call, but he should have been given a timeout on the inbounds or before the inbounds pass in between the Brunson and DiVincenzo threes. That's the timeout that the ref should have seen and granted him.
Oh, okay. So not the timeout when Maxey's on the floor.
No, that's the one that's one that I think there's the video people are sharing where he kind of half-heartedly calls timeout and then recoils.
Yeah.
They were also asking for time before that inbounds, and that's the one they should have been given.
Okay, got it. So that was Lowry who was inbounding, right?
I think so.
Wait, was
yeah.
that? I think so. Interesting.
First of all, what is this stupid committee? Everyone who watched that game knows that Maxey was mugged 3 times, and everyone saw Nick Nurse touch his hands together, hence signaling timeout. This is so stupid. They should not do this review.
Does this make that? So that loss yesterday, you said was torturous.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Gut-wrenching, awful. The broadcast had said, the Sixers broadcast had said on the air, the game is won. We're going back down I-95 with a W, stole home court. None of that ends up being true. Knicks end up winning, going up 2-0. You were devastated by this. Does this make you feel better at all?
No, I think they should. Honestly, I'm being totally serious. They should end the 2-minute report because someone's getting paid to say, like, honestly, a 5-year-old could have seen those were all fouls. So what are we doing here? What's the point of that?
Well,
report?
here's my question.
There's no single point. Every single person knew those were fouls.
So here's my question about it, though. If you are calling the games differently now,
yeah,
right?
We've acknowledged.
We've acknowledged since January they're calling the games differently. It's a little more what is it? Prison rules.
Physical.
It's a lot more physical. The scores are lower, and so how do you say in the last 2-minute report it should have been a foul? Because the way the game was being called, we have no idea what a foul is anymore.
Great point.
We have no idea what kind of too physical of a play is considered a foul.
I mean, to be honest, I don't take much credence in these 2-minute rules or 2-minute warnings or whatever they call them. Either because I feel like in the same thing they said Josh Hart wasn't pushed or that it was marginal contact on the inbounds.
Yeah, he got pushed off too.
Right, which he clearly got pushed off.
Right.
I really think these things are purely they think they're satisfying the fans. And I think that there was
accountability.
There was a big uproar to say, "Hey, let's just let Nick Nurse clearly faked the timeout and did all this stuff." And they're like, "Oh no, he deserved a timeout even though the ball was loose." I mean, some of this stuff didn't really make sense. So,
oh come on,
no, it's true. It's true. He called the timeout and the ball was in the air, and then he called the timeout and the ball was loose. So
they're
now
saying he should have gotten the timeout before the ball was inbounded.
When? He didn't call a timeout then.
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember. Maybe we got a Zapruder film this thing. I don't remember him calling timeout before Lowry inbounded the ball.
No,
I thought that was Lowry being inexplicably a veteran who's won a title, rushing that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this thing was done purely to say, hey, people are upset and they're questionable calls. Let's just say that, hey, the Sixers, you should have got these calls and let's move on. But unfortunately, what happens is it keeps the story going. It
you're
does the
saying
opposite.
that was all inaccurate, what was in the 2-minute report? Just to be clear.
I think that if you want to say it was a foul, fine. To say that he deserved those timeouts is insane.
Okay, so here's
There's
the next
another
question.
way of saying that. So it was a foul.
So here's the next question. What happens in game 3?
Oh my
Because
God.
now you have got the officials in the league publicly stating we basically we may have determined the outcome of the game. I know Maxey's not saying that, and the players aren't saying it, but we may have altered the outcome of the game by our no calls and by not granting the timeout. So how do the refs approach game 3? Does every call go the 76ers way?
No.
I mean, it's probably called incredibly tight. Sorry, Bogusch.
No, that's right. But they do this for every game.
Right.
There's a report of this for every game. So this is not an exception. The game 3 officiating is going to be the game 3 officiating. And if you want to believe the NBA is going to, push this way or push that way or assign this guy to that game. But this report was going to come out no matter what. They do it for every single game. So I don't know that this directly affects game 3.
Well, I guess where I would say it's different, playoffs number 1, but also, and I know they do it for every game in the playoffs, but also there is a school of thought out there that if Nick Nurse gets that timeout, they win the game. So
yeah. I mean, I'm watching again. He's clearly putting his hands together when Lowry's back.
So that's what I'm talking about.
But it's not the 2-minute report. It's everybody saw this game too. Anyone outside of New York thinks that Maxey got pushed down and Nick Nurse
they also
called a
think
timeout.
Josh Hart got pushed. I mean, there's a lot of people who felt like they got pushed. So,
well, yeah, but
the timeout is that's where I find that this is fascinating
Yeah.
because the timeout was a major point of contention, still is, between Perloff and EJ. And again, I think if they just get that timeout, which is a procedural thing, that's not a push. It's not a judgment call. If you give them the timeout, I think the Sixers win.
Well, yeah, I think also, too, I think the fact that Maxey, whether he was pushed or he looked like he got thrown to the ground. I mean, there's no other foul like this. The key play of the game,
Right.
It sure looked like Maxey got thrown to the ground. I think everybody saw that.
Again, if they get the timeout, they advance the ball to half court, and you're running a set. So it's just a totally different thing.
I think it's the Maxey push that is more on people's minds. I think that, I mean, the timeout's barely on camera, but everyone sees that they're trying to imbalance it and two Knicks players push him to the ground. I mean, I know like they were calling the game aggressively, but that was unbelievable that they didn't call that play.
What else we got, Bogusch?
Yeah.
The Florida Panthers needed overtime to take a 2-0 lead on the Lightning, 3-2. The game winner from Carter Verhaeghe. The Rangers up 2-0 on the Caps, a 4-3 home win. But the Canucks settle for a split, losing at home in Game 2 to Nashville, 4-1. The Avalanche avoid 0-2 with a 5-2 win in Winnipeg. The NFL says its tampering investigations of the Falcons and Kirk Cousins, the Eagles and Saquon Barkley will not be concluded before tomorrow. So if anyone's losing draft picks for this, it will not be until 2025. And baseball last night, the White Sox lost again, 6-5 to the Twins. They are now 3-20, but the Guardians do improve to an MLB best 17-6, 4-1 over the Red Sox. This matches the best 23-game start in Cleveland history. Guys, back to you.
All right, what are we going to do about this as a show here with the White Sox? Are we just going to start fading them? Like, how can we take advantage? That's not going to be like a good enough value, but how are we going to use this awful season for our personal gain?
How about we offer our services as all co-general managers for the team?
Yeah, see, I don't want to get that involved.
I want to. I am volunteering to be the general manager of the Chicago White Sox for free.
Wow.
I will be the general manager for the Chicago White Sox for free for 1 year to help them turn it around.
What's the first move you're going to make?
I'll respond by saying, you couldn't pay me to work for Jerry Reinsdorf.
That's a tough one. What would be your first move, Pete? As White Sox GM, I
would clear out the coaching staff. That's it. Start there, and let's get some people in there to hold accountability to players.
Who would you hire? If you could hire anybody.
What's with the groan, Bogusch? Might hire you as the manager.
Please.
See?
I'll take
Bogusch
it.
doesn't like to travel that much.
We know he doesn't like Chicago because Perloff is driving there to go to San Antonio.
Yeah, and that
I
basically
like
is why he didn't want to
Chicago.
go.
Yeah, I don't like Chicago on the way to San Antonio. But Chicago by itself is fine. And I don't have any principles, so I would get paid to work for Jerry Reinsdorf and for Pete Bellotti. So if they are looking for a manager, sign me up.
Yeah, on my list would be Bogusch and Buck Showalter. I would interview those two first.
That's a tough call.
Yeah.
Yep, I would interview those two first, and some others. I have to go through the cavalcade of people. That
I thought that you would say pie in the sky. You're doing everything you can to get Bruce Bochy, but listen, it's going to be hard to drag him away from Texas right now. It's under contract.
Bruce come to a team that's 3-22. It's not going to happen. we have to be honest with ourselves.
Might need him though.
Do.
Here's another question: who's going to be the first team that's just going to have a robot just be the general manager? And would the robot be better at
I think Vegas. The Vegas A's.
Just like whatever. Remember Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey? Just whatever that Watson. What is that? They competed on Jeopardy against humans.
It has to be Vegas, right? I mean, they're the team that is the cheapest. They've been the team that is
the
most.
A's. Yep.
Yeah, they're the A's now, still in Oakland, soon to be in Sacramento.
They should have a robot owner. I mean, that would take care of a lot of problems with them.
They're the team that has the least shame, so they would be they have to be the pick.
Just AI GM.
I would wonder though, EJ, would a robot manager be cheap? I don't know how much something like that would cost, and then upkeep and software updates. That might be more expensive than a
part of the
human
union.
manager.
I don't know.
I don't know.
The initial face value is probably cheap, but then as you said, the upkeep and making sure it has fuel and everything.
I know one thing. The first one to hack the manager will be the Houston Astros.
That is true. No scruples whatsoever.
Why are we putting our starter back in there for the ninth inning? I don't get it. Pitching a lefty with a lefty up at the plate? What's going on?
Yeah, right. Soft tossing lefty to Mike Trout, huh? Interesting. Something can't do the software update also during a doubleheader because that's going to be tough, and then time.
Baseball's so crazy now that you'd be like, oh yeah, we're starting an opener today. So we're going to throw the guy that has a 7 ERA, but is a long release. He's going to start today. And so many think, oh, you know what? They're going to find some sabermetrics to say, no, this makes sense. Yes. Yeah. Putting out an opener for the 4th day in a row actually makes sense.
I just want to see a robot go wheel itself to home plate and kick dirt on Hunter Wentelstadt's shoe.
I tell you what, the robot would be the most dangerous.
Anything. I didn't say anything. It was a fan.
He would be the most dangerous manager when it comes to those confrontations. Right. If you think about
it's a Terminator.
Yeah, exactly.
The laser eyes.
All right, we probably run that joke into the ground. Thank you, everybody. 855-212-4227. Coming up, okay, we will do our sleeper team to pick an NFL quarterback next.
minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Okay, NFL draft first round is tomorrow. Perloff and I both have our sleeper NFL teams who could be, and I think will be, in the market for a quarterback. This is a team nobody's talking about. Not the Vikings and the Broncos and the Raiders. Those are all the easy ones. The team I believe who is going to be looking for a quarterback who nobody is talking about, the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns traded their first-round pick to the Minnesota Vikings, so this would have to be a second-round situation. But the Cleveland Browns, to me, Perloff, are a team that's sneaky in need of a quarterback. And you could say, Maggie, they just paid the most guaranteed money ever for Deshaun Watson, and he still has 3 years left on his deal. That's correct. Deshaun Watson has also played 12 games in 3 seasons. And not only that, and I know it's hard to get accurate injury information from anyone, really, this is being labeled as a very serious shoulder injury he's coming back from. By all accounts, this started in week 3. He still played with the torn labrum and all the ligaments fragmented and frayed. A bone broke off one of his, broke off at one point. I'm not a doctor here, but it's a serious shoulder injury. Now, the Browns signed Jameis Winston as their backup quarterback, sort of maybe anticipating that they were going to need some extra help this year. Mm-hmm. They also signed Snoop Huntley. They signed 2 backup quarterbacks, essentially. They needed 4 backup quarterbacks to get through last season alone. So I know they owe him a lot of money, and it's all guaranteed, and it's $60+ million a year. I think Cleveland has to be looking quarterback of the future here, even with years left on Deshaun's contract.
So, but let me ask you a question, though. Yeah. It sounds like you need a guy who can step in and play. If you're talking like 50, that's like Michael Pratt or Spencer Rattler.
Yep.
Is that good enough? This team is ready to win a Super Bowl right now, or at least, be in that kind of playoff. Like, as a second-round pick, going to do the trick for that? Like, Michael Pratt, is he really? I don't know. I feel like that's not. Would you just describe a thing where Deshaun Watson's not going to be ready? Like, I want a veteran in there, but this team is ready to go.
Well, again, they've got Jameis and they've got Snoop Huntley and DTR, by the way, who they drafted last year, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But I think it's starting to become a much more acute situation for the Browns than anyone ever thought when they signed Deshaun Watson and made that big trade. Because you thought, oh, now you've got your guy for the future. Do you? Now you're 3 years left on this deal. You've got nothing to show for it.
So, but is there any chance that they trade up to get one of the big guys?
So here's the picks they have: 54, 85, then 156, 206. I mean, this is something where I think if Pratt or somebody, Pratt yesterday was someone who our pal Jim Nagy thought very highly of. Yeah. 2-lane quarterback, a lot of experience, big games where he's won.
God, if you ever wait till you want to hear a tearjerker, wait till that guy's draft night story. He's got the wildest tearjerker. He lost everybody in his life. He's had a lot of tragedy. Let's put it that way. The one thing, all right, I'm going to go with my surprise team. I'm going to go a little higher. I think the team to watch, I'm tempted to do Atlanta at 8, but I'm going to go with another NFC South team. How about New Orleans at 14?
Yep.
Because talking about a guy who can't stay healthy, Derek Carr.
Yep.
I just think you're an indoor team. Like, it's about time that you have a star quarterback in there. And I think if Penix falls and he's sitting there, I keep on linking Penix to all the dome teams. I just feel like a clean area where he could throw. I think it's time New Orleans ripped the Band-Aid and said, you know what? We like Derek Carr. He's good when he's on the field. We need to build a real team here and look bigger picture and be a perennial playoff team. Derek Carr feels like a Band-Aid. I think New Orleans would be a great fit for Penix because you have seen in that dome a high-flying offense. He reminds me a little bit of Breeze. He's going to stay in the pocket. He's not going to run. He's going to distribute the ball. I would love to see them. Everyone, I know they need a left tackle desperately, and it's a left tackle draft. Maybe they get that guy lower and just take a risk. And 14 is a good spot. You're not killing yourself to get a quarterback, so why not go there?
There you go. Sleeper teams to draft a quarterback high. Well, first 2 rounds. Perloff thinks it could be the New Orleans Saints with that 14th pick. I think it could be the Cleveland Browns with the 54th pick. A little bit different calculus there. How about you? The team you may be expecting to take a quarterback that no one's talking about. Also, it's Wednesday. We've got the great debate next.
seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
The noise around J.J. McCarthy, to me, is getting crazy. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I mean, what are we doing here? J.J. McCarthy was a winner in college. I get that. There were a lot of reasons why Michigan won a national title last year. McCarthy was one of them. He wasn't in my top 3, though, of why Michigan did finally break through and win that title. And now, Perloff, what's getting nuts here as the draft is set to kick off tomorrow is some of the speculation around teams who will just be falling over each other to trade up to get J.J. McCarthy. Future first-round picks, multiple first-round picks. That's madness to me.
Yeah, but it's the cost of doing business for a quarterback. So Minnesota has 11-23.
Yeah.
Here's my argument why, and maybe they don't want to do it. There's a report they don't want to give up 23. Next year's first-round pick for a team like Minnesota should be second half of the first round. I feel like what you don't want to do is trade a pick and have it end up being the number 1 overall pick like the Bears and the Panthers traded last year. But I feel like Minnesota, if you trade up and you give up next year's first round pick, you better hope that's not a top 5 pick. So you have to be a decent team where you think J.J. McCarthy is plug and play, bring him in, and you're going to be like the number 20 pick next year. So if you think that, then you can do that deal.
Well, I think you might be deluding yourself, and that's a good way to get fired, or that's a good way to really disappoint the fan base because, again, I understand the market for quarterbacks is much different than every other position, but you can still make a huge mistake. And I know Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, is a quarterback guru guy. He's been very picky, according to him, about who he wants to have as the signal caller in Minnesota. But again, future assets? Like, we're really doing that. We're doing the future assets for McCarthy, who has all this game film, yet the evaluation is incomplete. You know, that to me doesn't compute. I know a lot of times you're picking guys on the potential, but when you are mortgaging the future assets, you really have to be a lot more than, I think he's going to be good. You got to really have a lot stronger conviction than that.
Well, let me ask you this. Drake May sitting in number 3, possibly. I think many teams would do that. They would trade 3 first rounds to get into number 3 for Drake May. Is J.J. McCarthy that much worse than Drake May? Because I think if Minnesota said, hey, we'll give you 11-23 in a first rounder to move up to number 3, nobody would blink an eye about that. We've seen that exact deal many times. That would be fine, right? Or
I don't know. See, I don't. I'm not really as sold on this draft class as everyone is. I don't know if you have 6 future Pro Bowlers in this draft class like it's being touted. So
you wouldn't do that deal?
You know, I like Drake May. I think that the skill set that he has shown, the reason why North Carolina was losing games is not because of Drake May. So I think the skill set that he's shown is something that I'm a lot more excited about, quite frankly, than J.J. McCarthy. So I guess, like, do we trust our eyes? We all watched this guy, and he is a highly touted recruit, and I know he's got good footwork and all of that. But we all watched for 2 years as Michigan is playing in one high-profile game after another, and he was asked to do not very much.
Yeah,
and with a coach who is a former NFL quarterback and is a quarterback guy, I find it, I can't get past that.
Yeah, but it's a potential. Same with Drake May. Like, the NFL is looking at potential. I think we understand that it's a particular situation. Jim Harbaugh never wants to pass the ball. Everyone knows that. I mean, there's...
How about never?
Literally never. I mean, he had maybe 1 year. Show me
Kaepernick to Crabtree? That was not nothing.
It was nothing. I mean, I just looked up the year they won the Super Bowl, they were 31st in pass attempts.
Okay, but Michael Crabtree was the 1,000-yard receiver, wasn't he, or close?
I'm just saying, like, he just is not. You know that J.J. McCarthy, if he would gone to Oregon where Bo Nix was, would have thrown 40 touchdowns.
Okay, but I didn't see it. You know?
But I think we can make that leap. We know it was Harbaugh, right? It was you who did it to me. So I think that's why Harbaugh is working so hard to say he's so good, because I think he limited him. Honestly, if J.J. McCarthy, I think if he had thrown as much as, say, Michael Penix, you don't think he would have 35 touchdowns? Of course he would.
Okay, and if you're a GM and you want to give to first-round picks, see, nobody's tripping over themselves for first-round picks for Penix, though. Like, you're talking, not yet.
Well, he could go high, though.
Okay, but not what we're talking about with McCarthy, which is like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I got to be honest, like, this doesn't even help. It helps McCarthy because it will help his bank account. But the expectations when you are thought to be again, this is the scouts talking, borderline first-round pick. Borderline first-round grade is on McCarthy. And instead, a team trades multiple first-round picks or at least one future first-round pick to go up and get you at 4. You all of a sudden have expectations that you're going to be the rising tide of the franchise.
No, you're totally right. I mean, realistically, J.J. McCarthy should be 11, 12, or 13. Like, kind of, that makes sense. But if
I think it's more like 20 to 35.
Okay, but if you're Minnesota, Denver, or Vegas, the teams that need a quarterback, and you want J.J. McCarthy, it makes sense to take him there, right? I'd say 11 for Minnesota. But you know as a fact that the 12 and 13 team might jump you. At a certain point, it's just the market. Like, what if you're all set? If, say, we do want J.J. McCarthy at 11, that's not that big a stretch.
But you don't have to trade up assets of that for that.
But if you really want him, you have no idea if you're going to get him there. You can't just sit there and tell your owner, hey, I'm going to look at we want this quarterback. And then say you stick at 11 and he goes number 10, then you're just out of luck. And then you're starting Sam Darnold. So I think it's just a matter of the actual situation is you might have to trade up even if the value is not there, because otherwise you don't get a quarterback.
Yeah, I just think for as many stories you have of, they traded up and they got Mahomes and it worked out so well. They traded up, they got Josh Allen, it worked out so well. You have traded up for Trey Lance. Now, I know he's got a lot more game tape than Trey Lance. I get that. But you get, we felt like we really had to take our guys, so we took Daniel Jones at 6. But
for every pick that is not a quarterback, we don't talk. Washington passed on Justin Herbert to take Chase Young. Like, there's disasters all over the place. There's no one way it goes where passing. Yeah. Each situation is totally different. I mean, for every trade up that did work, I'll give you one that did work. For every time you pass on it. So Minnesota sits at 11, and all the quarterbacks are gone, and they get, I don't know, another right tackle. Like, what's that doing for the team? If Sam Darnold's your quarterback, the owners could be like, why are we 4-13 next year? So I do think just the market dictates this. It's not the quality of player; it's where you have to go.
Well, it's the desperation is what dictates it, and I hate making moves out of desperation. We also asked you on social media, Maggie Pearl on Twitter, is J.J. McCarthy going to be a star? This is where Perloff and I disagree. I think you see him as somebody, if he goes to the right place, that he's going to be a really big deal. He's going to be successful, especially if he goes to Minnesota.
Yeah, I see him like a Kirk Cousins type.
Yeah, no, and he would be somebody who, we all know what a star is, right? And so I don't see it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, but yeah, he's going to be good if he goes to Minnesota. If he goes to Denver, I'm a little less convinced. If he goes to the Raiders, I'm non-convinced. But the Raiders don't seem to want him. But regardless, I think if he goes to the right spot, he could be good.
The poll question, is J.J. McCarthy going to be a star in the NFL? The early results are not good for the Michigan QB. About 80% of our audience, 79% of the audience says no, he's not going to be a star. And I'm with them. I don't see how this feels like a really big, leap. And what I would say also about McCarthy, it might be better for him. I know not in the immediate because it might be embarrassing. And again, the money that's guaranteed for high picks is nothing to sneeze at. But going later and potentially going to a better team, if he actually was a late round pick or whatever, could actually help. Like, he is the kind of guy who has to go to a team that has a lot around him. You just said it. If he goes to Minnesota, you like him. If he goes someone else, you don't like it as much. So, it's not like if I'm trading up to get somebody and I'm doing a lot of future first, I'm thinking He can be good almost anywhere. He can overcome deficiencies on the roster. He's the focal point of everything we want to build around because that's how you're treating him with your draft assets.
Yeah, I'm not sure the league looks at quarterbacks in the first round like that anymore. I think you would take sort of a game manager higher up. Like you'd take Kirk Cousins at 10. I will tell you one thing, star or no star, if he goes 11 to the Vikings, I would definitely put a Rookie of the Year bet on him because he is in a position where he could easily get 30 touchdowns and 4,000 yards with Kevin O'Connell as his coach. And that's the best spot. I mean, the worst spot is if he goes 2 to the Commanders, which is not out of play either. Like, he can't go to a team where he has to do everything. He's got to be in the right spot. So I will definitely, I mean, if he falls to 11, 12, I'm definitely in on this J.J. McCarthy thing. You're out. You think he's going to be a bust?
I mean, bust. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the come in, the immediate impact. I'm not seeing the guy who we saw in Michigan and all of a sudden is going to come here and be Brett Favre. Like, I don't, it's too much of a leap for me. So, and I know Favre would start off that way.
Spectacular. I mean,
no, but not his rookie year, obviously. Yeah. But I'm not seeing this like, man, and look at the gunslinger. Like, he was hiding all along, just in plain sight. We never knew it.
Could you see playoffs with that team?
You know, I think that the Packers are really good. I think that the Lions are really good. So, and I think the Bears are probably going to be a lot better than maybe some people think. So,
yeah, it's a tough division.
I don't know if that's going to be very easy for them.
Yeah, it's set up though. They have a really good left tackle and that receiving core. If you could go Addison and Jefferson and T.J. Hockenson, oh man, this is going to be good. Actually, I want my guy Michael Penix to go there, and he would light up the league there.
Well, and also they kept Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator, and he's awesome. So
that's a really interesting team. Sam Darnold starts, not so much.
I'm telling you, I've watched a lot of Sam Darnold tape.
Live. I know you guys are into the Jets. Like, I honestly think Sam Darnold was not as bad because it was like playing with ankle weights. You can't judge anything.
I've done this debate every day of my life for 4 years. I can't do it again.
I think the NFL views Sam Darnold way differently than Jets Nation. I think, and by the way, it's funny.
Well, what about Panthers Nation? Because they also would have a say in this.
I mean, yeah, that's even worse. That's like full body weights. That's like playing in a Knight of Armor suit.
Okay, well, it was like touted as, wow, thank God he got it out of New York so he could finally go to someplace who's going to appreciate him like Carolina. And then it totally imploded there. Okay, if you are tuning into our show, Wednesdays, at this time, every week, we do something called The Great Debate.
The Great Debate Series.
Okay, in honor of the first round of the NFL draft being tomorrow, Perloff, we're thinking about rookies. We've got rookies on the brain. We've got football rookies on the brain. So our question in our Great Debate today: who had the greatest rookie season in the history of the NFL? I cede the floor to you, sir.
Okay. I don't know if it's the greatest, but it's my favorite for sure. Eric Dickerson came in the NFL as sort of a highly thought of running back out of SMU. But what he did his rookie year is insane. 1,808 yards rushing, 18 touchdowns, caught 51 passes, turned around a Rams team that was really not much to think about before then. My favorite part about this, he had 13 fumbles his rookie year. That's amazing that he was still number 3 in MVP voting with 13 fumbles. Every time he touched the ball, you didn't know what was going to happen, Maggie. It was incredible. I saw the highlights the other day. He had that upright running style. It was like he was gliding through the line. It's the greatest rookie running back season of all time. And I would argue the greatest season of all time because that's a position that you really dominate immediately. Quarterbacks are a bit limited in their rookie year. Running back, you could just go for it. And I think his was the greatest running back season and therefore the greatest rookie season in the history of the NFL.
Ran to the left side, wide of the right farmer, pitch back to Dickerson, turns left, cuts inside, out to the 30, 35 to the 40, to the 45, to the 50, down to the 35, down to the 25, down to the 10, 5, touchdown, Eric Dickerson, 85 yards.
All right, we're doing our great debate this week, the greatest rookie seasons in NFL history, and I will present to you Cam Newton.
The Cardinals all standing in a two-point stance on the third down. Here comes the blitz. Newton puts it up. He's got a man, and he completes it. Steve Smith is going all the way. Touchdown, Carolina. 77 yards. Cam Newton's first touchdown pass of the NFL.
That was his first touchdown pass, the first game over 400 yards. Week 2, also over 400 yards passing. And the reason why I'm picking Cam Newton is because of the impact that not only he had that rookie year where he won Rookie of the Year, but also the impact it's had on the league since. I mean, Cam Newton wasn't the first dual-threat quarterback, and he wasn't the first option dual-threat quarterback, but man, feels like he sort of revolutionized that, where teams said, what did he do well in college? Let's take some of those concepts and let's put them here in the pros. Let's build our whole offense around this. And the other part about Cam, the 4,051 passing yards, the 21 touchdowns passing to go with 14 rushing touchdowns for a total of 35 touchdowns in his rookie year and 700 rushing yards. Cam was really questioned coming into that draft. Mel Kiper was comparing him to Achilles Smith. It was not like, oh, he's coming off of the Heisman. We think Cam is going to, in a national championship, and we think Cam's going to be the surefire thing. His work ethic was questioned. All these things about Cam totally dogged him, and the fact that he started off his career in such a huge way. Panthers had won 2 games the year before. They ended up winning 6 games. They didn't go to the playoffs. He broke Peyton Manning's rookie passing yards record. And Cam ushered in, Josh Allen can't be if Cam Newton doesn't exist. I think it's harder. I think it's harder for people to look at quarterbacks who were that big, who were that good of runners. So for me, it's Cam Newton.
Gotcha.
Let's go to EJ.
All right, so my pick still holds the record for most receiving touchdowns, and it was because of games like this.
Throwing it back to Cunningham, the old flea picker, and open is Randy Moss, and in the end zone is a Minnesota touchdown.
Yep, you know they were going to do it. The fans knew they were going to do it. The Dallas Cowboys knew they were going to do it.
Here's Cunningham back to throw it and going deep, and he's got Moss, and there's a flag on the play, and Moss has caught the pass, and it's in the end zone anyway. Touchdown. Just throw it as far as you can.
This guy is amazing.
And I don't know how you stop him.
I don't either.
The Cowboys showing blitz. Minnesota picks Randy Moss, breaks a tackle, and Randy Moss races down the sideline, and Randy Moss just outruns everybody into the end zone. He is incredible.
3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys, an iconic performance from the great Randy Moss, who had 17 receiving touchdowns in his rookie season. Think about all of the touchdowns, all of the passing yards, all the receiving yards that we have in today, and still that record holds because Randy Moss was completely unstoppable. We had never seen an athlete like him before at the receiver position. I don't know if we've really seen anybody like him since. Randy Moss, by far, to me, greatest NFL rookie of all time.
All right, that's the great debate today. The greatest NFL rookie years of all time, or greatest NFL rookies of all time. This is in honor of the draft tomorrow. Pete Bellotti?
Well, how about Odell Beckham Jr.? His rookie season, he was injured.
Yep.
A lot of his rookie season. He missed 4 games, had hamstring injuries throughout the entire season, but won Offensive Rookie of the Year, had 12 touchdowns in 12 games. If you want to do a comparison, look at Tyreek Hill this year. He had 13 touchdowns in 16 games. So look at that stat. And 185 receiving yards in 1 game, the giant rookie record at the end of the year. He was phenomenal, and including his one-handed grab in Philadelphia.
Play action. And Manning's going to heave one. There's a flag. Beckham, a one-handed catch. How in the world?
Oh, my goodness.
And Brandon Carr was back there. I mean, he is insane. How do you make that catch?
Oh, my goodness. This is sick. Put this to music. I don't think he stepped out either. That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Sorry, wrong division rival.
Yeah, Cowboys.
The Cowboys in that game. But Odell Beckham, a remarkable rookie season.
It's a good one. Bogusch is at the home headquarters today, but would not miss this if his life depended on it. Who is the greatest NFL rookie of all time, Bogusch?
Well, let me just say congrats to Pete for not trying to sell us on Bruce Bochy being 70 and 74 in his first season as Padres manager back in '95. And then now, Pete, tell me if I'm doing this right. Right church, wrong pew.
That is correct.
Perloff went NFL running back. He just had the wrong NFL running back.
This is the day Jim Brown sets a new league record for yards gained rushing.
And here Jim makes his most spectacular run of the year. He breaks out of the grasp of Dick Doherty.
It was so amazing so long ago there wasn't actual play-by-play. There was just recaps of the 1957 season for Jim Brown. Just 12 games. He ran for 942 yards and 9 touchdowns. Doesn't sound a lot, but both those numbers led the NFL. And here's the thing that he did that nobody else did. As a rookie, he was the NFL MVP, not just Rookie of the Year. Yep. He was the best player in the NFL as a rookie. Give me Jim Brown, 1957.
All right, there you have it. That's our great debate for this week. Greatest NFL rookies of all time. Perloff.
Eric Dickerson, who, by the way, came in second for MVP, the second highest rookie.
That's not first.
Yeah, you're right.
Still a loser.
With Cam Newton. EJ went with Randy Moss. Pete went with Odell Beckham Jr. and Bogusch going with Jim Brown. So we give you a little everything there, a lot of multiple eras that you can get involved with this if you'd like. 855-212-4227. If you would like to participate in the show in a different way, we've got that for you too. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. You can join the chat, you can watch the show, and you can leave your comments right there. All right, we've got 2 things on the table for you. 1, will J.J. McCarthy be a star in the NFL? Yes or no? And 2, the greatest NFL rookie seasons of all time. Maggie and Perloff, don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Great Debate Wednesday. Which NFL player had the greatest rookie season of all time? Maggie went with Cam Newton. EJ went with Randy Moss. Bilotti went with Odell Beckham Jr. And Andrew Bogusch went with Jim Brown in one of those old 50s highlights, which we love.
Yeah, we
There was
do.
no play-by-play in 1957. You know, I think a couple guys we miss. Earl Campbell had a sick rookie year. Came in second in MVP voting. There's nothing wrong. I picked Eric Dickerson because he's the coolest guy on this list, except maybe Randy Moss. Cam's pretty cool, too. Actually, Odell's very cool. We all basically pick players we love.
This is a very cool list.
I think you could expand the list to players who aren't super highlight players. Maybe there's somebody else, Maggie. Maybe there's a defensive player. God.
Well, let's hit the phones. 855-212-4227. The greatest rookie season in the NFL ever. Mike's in Syracuse has got a thought for us. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. 1952, Los Angeles Rams selected Dick Night Train Lane.
Yep.
Still holds the rookie.
Oh, he hung up on him.
No.
He hung up.
He hung up.
I was going to say, did he just start a string of curses that I didn't hear?
I mean, that, by the way, they broke the record for most interceptions, 14.
Yep, 14 interceptions, 2 defensive touchdowns scored in that season and a safety.
What if Monty Ossenfort, the Arizona Cardinals GM, is in the same exact situation as Mike in Syracuse and his phone cuts out right before the trade? That's why if I'm a GM, I'm getting this trade deal done exactly for that reason.
This is Perloff's anxiety dream, even though this is not your job.
I wish. I mean, I would love to have that 4-pick. Go ahead.
George is in L.A. George, hello.
What's going on, you guys? Good morning. I hate to be a homer, but Puka Nacua, man, last year, just, most yards ever receiving by a rookie. Hell of a fifth-round pick out of nowhere, It's amazing.
Puka had a great season, George. You're right about that. Broke the record. Now, here's the thing. 17 games.
Yeah, modern passing offense.
A little bit.
He's still awesome. I mean, greatest ever feels rich for me, but he should be celebrated as maybe easily the most unexpected superstar rookie year. I mean, I can't even think of...
a fifth-round pick?
Yeah, I can't think of anybody else who's jumped like that off the top of my head.
Now, what's funny is he didn't win Rookie of the Year, obviously, because that went to C.J. Stroud.
Actually, unexpected, Mr. Irrelevant.
Brock Purdy, but...
He hit it pretty good. And Russell Wilson, too.
That was pretty unbelievable.
Those two guys. I don't know what Russell Wilson's stats were, but I thought about him because that team hit fast. But was that him or was that the
Legion of
defense?
Boom? Well, ask Richard Sherman. He'll tell you it was definitely the defense. Okay, so Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got headlines for us. Hello.
Hello again. 20 points only for Devin Booker, just 18 for Kevin Durant, only 14 from Bradley Beal. That trio shooting 18 for 45 combined. The Suns' big three, not that big, in a 105-93 loss in Game 2 in Minnesota. But Booker says, don't worry, they'll try to win soon.
I mean, don't count us out. You know, it's a series for a reason. You know, I don't think any road teams won so far. You know, I know that doesn't have anything to do with us, but, you know, it's just a situation that it is.
That road team sentence might have been true when Booker said it, but since he said it, the Pacers closed out a 125-108 win in Milwaukee to split their first 2 games, and then the Mavs left LA with a split thanks to a 96-93 win, so road teams now 2-12 so far this postseason. The Pelicans hoping to avoid 0-2 tonight in OKC. No Zion for that one or the foreseeable future. But Big Z said yesterday he should be back out there if the Pels keep winning.
That is definitely realistic. It is absolutely realistic. But like I said, I got to pass tests, get back to baseline, and hopefully I'll be out there.
When Zion hurt his left hamstring 8 days ago against the Lakers, they said he'd be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So we're halfway there right now.
Right. Do we think? Well, listen, the first game of that series was very close. So
Yeah.
Sure.
They have to win this next game.
Yeah, that's
for
what I'm
that to
saying.
be
Like,
possible.
do we even, how do we even go down that road? Perloff said he doesn't think Zion's going to be back until next season's All-Star break.
Yeah, right after the All-Star, I hope.
That's not a medical opinion, though.
No.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's a having watched Zion ever opinion. Right? Has he ever come back earlier?
No, but he played 70 games this year.
Trust me, he's my favorite player in the NBA. I wish he played more. This is killing me that they have to throw out this team.
What I heard from this, though, when I heard this quote, it feels though like there's been questions before where they think he's been healthy enough to play, and he kind of hasn't gone. And there was that big controversy where he's doing windmills prior to playoff games. I get the feeling that if he's close, he's going to go. That's what I heard here. Whereas maybe in the past, he was like, oh, I'm not going to go if I'm not feeling so great. I think that's probably gone, so maybe that's where he'll push it. But I still think it has to be a close series, and I don't think this is going to be a close series.
I don't know. It just feels like they're the kind of team, and with him, they've always been of the opinion, like, it's not worth it. You know, it's not worth it to push. This reminds me of like Steven Strasburg with the Nationals or something. It's like, no, we always got to have him on a pitch clock. And listen, they ended up winning a World Series late in his career, but it's like they will always opt for the not push it.
Absolutely. One thing is he's a little lighter now, so maybe it's not as big an injury risk. But still, hamstrings, if you guys ever had a hamstring problem, they never go away.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what percentage of Zion are you getting? Zion's got to be explosive. If you limit him at all, what's the point? Never shoots from the outside. He's got to be able to explode in the middle. It's not happening. It's done, Bogusch. Take that out of your update.
What's odd to me is that the question was, will you be back in the postseason?
Yeah.
Not in this round. And he said the postseason is definitely realistic, which is not a firm yes, and seems more serious than he's got a hamstring, we'll check on him in 2 weeks. Like, if this was not a big deal, he'd be back in 2 weeks and 2 days if they were still playing. So to not fully commit to being back in the postseason in general, maybe the hamstring is worse than we thought 8 days ago.
It's possible. Totally. What else we got, sir?
Well, I'm too lazy to confirm this. I think this was the first overtime game of this NHL postseason. Panthers and Lightning going past regulation in Game 2, and no surprise, Carter Verhaeghe ended things.
Chernak up the wall, got the clear. Mikula wrists it back in for the Panthers. That rims around the end wall, near side Willeberg. Trying to poke it away from Chuck, loose out front. Backhand try, and they score! Carter Verhaeghe upstairs, and this one's over! The Panthers win it in overtime! 3-2 the final! Carter Verhaeghe, the game winner!
That's from Panthers Radio, a 3-2 win, a 2-0 lead on the Lightning. This makes 5 career postseason OT goals for Verhaeghe, already tied for the third most all time. The Rangers took a 2-0 lead on the Caps in regulation 4-3, but Nashville won in Vancouver 4-1, Colorado won in Winnipeg 5-2. Those series are now 1-1. Braves lefty Max Fried, a complete game shutout, a 5-0 decision over the Marlins, who have now not scored in their last 20 innings. Giants righty Logan Webb on a 19-inning scoreless stretch after blanking the Mets for 8. San Francisco winning 5-1. New York has dropped 3 in a row since a 6-game win streak. The Phillies' 7-game win streak ending in Cincinnati 8-1. And Live Golf CEO Greg Norman says they are open-minded to expanding their events to the traditional 72 holes, but that would be a significant change for the Breakaway Tour. They're playing one less day, one less round right now. John Rahm among the LIV golfers who have called for this expansion in hopes of bringing the two tours closer together. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Did you guys see, speaking of Saudi Arabia and LIV, did you see Deshaun Watson was in Saudi Arabia? Apparently, he tweeted, "Thank you to the Saudis for hosting me," and all this stuff. Like,
yeah, always working on that Q rating. Get it up and up there, Deshaun. I mean, geez.
What can make this guy more likable? Nothing like a trip to Saudi
Let's
Arabia.
connect with the Saudi Arabians.
Also, what's he providing for them? Like, we talked about the Bills being for sale, the 25% stake, and who's going to be the owner. And I said, oh, could it be Donald Trump? I think the Saudis are going to try to they love getting into professional sports, called sports washing, what have you. I think they're going to try. And I wouldn't be shocked if they made a big offer to try to get a stake in the Bills. And now Deshaun Watson being over there does not connect that dot, obviously. But, like, why are they hosting football players?
I mean, unless they want to start a football league. And that sounds crazy right now, but, I mean, they started a soccer league to get Cristiano Ronaldo, and it worked. And they almost got Mbappe.
And it's not going to be as easy as you think, though. I mean, because owners have to approve these ownership transactions. So
yes, and I think the one thing about NFL owners and just owners in general, I never have any faith that they would do anything if the bottom line is on one side and maybe doing the quote unquote right thing is on the other side. I never think they'll do the right thing. But that's me. All right, we got to take a quick break. Coming up, one of the men who will be on the desk on TV, beamed into your living room for the next 3 days. Charles Davis is going to join us. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. We'll absolutely love listening to our next guest. His draft analysis and NFL analysis spot on. Love listening to him do games with Iron Eagle as well. It's CharlesDavis, NFL Network analyst, and NFL Network providing live coverage, of course, of the 2024 NFL Draft in Detroit. It starts Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Charles, it's Maggie and Perloff. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing well. How are the two of you today?
Man, we're doing awesome, and we can't wait for the draft to get underway, just like you. But here's our first question here from the NFL side. Which front office, in your opinion, is really under a lot of pressure to nail this draft and come away with a difference-making class?
Oh, that's a great question. Absolutely great question. Short term, and it's really strange because it's not just the class, it's just a short term for the season. I'd have to say the Jets.
Yeah.
Because they went all in on Aaron Rodgers last year. Of course, they lost him after 4 plays, so you kind of get a little bit of a pass on that. Zach Wilson didn't work out, but they have a number of other players that they've drafted who have been pretty darn good players for them. Can they bring them up to fruition? Can they add to it with this class? Can they have the kind of season that they're looking for? That's a big one. The others are going to be very simple. Chicago's making progress. Washington is brand new. New England is brand new. Right on down the line, I'm going to give you a weird one, and it's a brand new one, but the Raiders. When are they going to fully get out of the wilderness? Tom Telesco, who came from the Chargers, starting over with Antonio Pierce. It was promising, especially on Christmas Day, wasn't it, when they beat Kansas City? Can they elevate, find the quarterback they're looking for, perhaps, and start making some noise in the AFC West once again?
All right, Charles, where do you stand on sort of this big debate, how many quarterbacks are going to go and how high they're going to go? Do you see it possibly going 1, 2, 3, 4 with J.J. McCarthy as a top 5 pick?
I do, Andrew, because, I can't rule out all the smoke that's there. I mean, you got to have a mask on for this one, don't you?
Not a Laramie Tunsil mask,
not a
Charles.
Laramie Tunsil one.
Different kind.
This one we're trying to keep, Maggie, that was very good. We're trying to keep the smoke out on this one, Maggie, not trying to keep it in. Okay? But it's definitely there. My instincts, if they count for anything, Andrew, and I'm just using my own, no one else's or what have you, I feel like it should be a 4-2 draft, meaning 4 quarterbacks in the first round, 2 in the second round. 5-1 feels pretty solid, though. Is it Bo Nix or Michael Penix? But I have to tell you, when my mock draft drops today, there's 6 in there.
6 in the first round, Charles. You're a wild man.
Yeah, there's 6 in there. But, I've been looking around, and, we all kind of eye each other. Andrew and Maggie, tell me if I'm wrong on this one. Now we always say, well, I do my own, and I worry about my own place. The heck we do. If we don't all look around and see what other people are doing, am I in the right neighborhood? 6 is starting to become the number.
Yeah.
Wait,
it really is.
Charles,
6 is starting to become the number everywhere.
Take us through then. Your mock's going to start, going to drop today, and it's must watch. Perloff will literally pull his car over to the side of the road to read a mock draft, including yours. So can you tell us, where are these 6 QBs going? I'm assuming you've got Caleb 1. Do you have Jaden 2?
Yeah, let's. Well, since it hasn't dropped, can I do a little suspense? Is that okay?
Yeah,
sure.
All right. Quarterbacks at 1, 2, 3. Not at 4, because here's the deal: I don't do trades. Okay. I'm not smart enough to do the trades and remember them.
Yeah.
So I just do it like a normal deal. And somehow, some way, sometimes the trades show up in what I do, but you just don't see it, if that makes any sense at all.
Got it.
So not at 4, not at 5, not at 6, which is a pressure point because that's the Giants, and people are wondering about them. They'd be a quarterback. I didn't go there. Quarterback 11, 12, 13.
There you go.
Okay, so you got a run in the beginning, and then 11, 12, 13 is Minnesota, Denver, and Vegas.
Run.
Yeah.
So that's
it's so heavy quarterback that the best tight end in the draft, I can't find a place for him in my top 10.
Is that?
And remember, Brock Bowers has been almost inked at 10 to the Jets. I don't have him going there.
It's funny, Charles. I saw your cohort, Peter Schrager, NFL Network, he said 6 in the top half has now become the consensus thinking. So
6 in the top half of the first round.
6 quarterback. That's what Schrager said, that everyone's thinking there's going to be 6. Is that just because if you want to get a quarterback, you gotta go. Sit around? You can't,
you gotta go, right, Andrew? You got to go, right? Like if you're one of those teams that's down below, the Raiders are at 13. The Broncos are at 12. I know the Broncos don't have a second-round pick, but you guys have both studied Sean Payton. Has he ever not influenced Mickey Loomis to give away a future pick to go get what he wants right now?
Wow.
He always did, didn't he? They did it for Marcus Davenport to come up to 12. They did it to get running backs in the 3rd round. He'd give away a future pick. They don't have a 2 this year. So that means 2025 is in play as far as he's concerned. And, yes, I think we can all agree, we don't believe Zach Wilson in that deal is going to stop him from trying to get a quarterback. So put it in perspective. I think you're right, Andrew. You got to go and get that person. So I fully expect people to try and make moves. That's part of it. But there's one big caution flag that's gone up for me. You guys know what it is, right? Didn't we talk about Will Levis like this last year?
Oh, yeah.
And he got the call when he was back home the next day, day 2. Okay? So I always keep that in mind because the teams will always know more than we know. We end up with pack mentality, and we all follow each other in a lot of ways. And the teams snicker and go, no, we really weren't going to go that way. Kenny Pickett, that was supposed to be Malik Willis going, Desmond Ridder going. They took Pickett at 1 or 22 or somewhere in that neighborhood, and then no one else was picked again until the 3rd round that was a quarterback. So I always have that little note of caution in my head, but right now I have 6 going.
Charles, I saw your last mock draft at the end of March, obviously a while ago now.
Yeah.
You had Seattle and the LA Rams taking quarterbacks too. I would love that scenario. Do you think if somebody fell to them, they'd be interested?
Definitely. I definitely do. Brand new head coach, and John Schneider as the GM. Maggie and Andrew, did we learn something? You guys probably knew this, and I was probably aware, but it didn't feel that way because of Pete Carroll's presence in Seattle. John Schneider didn't really have final call, did he? Pete had it. So guess who has final call now? John Schneider. It's a brand new world. Doesn't mean automatically you do something out of character, but now you have free reign to do what you want, and it's a brand new head coach. The Rams, they have the 1st-round pick for the first time since Jared Goff. So we're not wearing F those picks T-shirts, and they have 11 picks overall. There's a strong feeling Matthew Stafford's, he's way closer to the end than the beginning. We know that. This could be his last year. would you put it past Les Snead to do some maneuvering if indeed there's a quarterback they can go get that they want? That's why I had quarterbacks with the Rams on my last one.
Charles Davis is joining us, NFL Network analyst. Is going to be front and center for the NFL draft. NFL Network's coverage gets going Thursday, live, of course, 8 o'clock Eastern time. But they basically, I don't think Charles can even, take a bathroom break. I mean, they literally have you on TV for 3 days straight. And he's joining us right here on Maggie and Perloff. We have a poll question up today, Charles, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Do you think J.J. McCarthy will be a star in the NFL? Yes or no?
I think he'll be a good quarterback in the NFL. I struggle on the star part because I think we make star too easily. It's like all the things. He's elite. We used to have that debate all the time. I think somewhere Eli Manning and Joe Flacco both winced and went, oh, God, here we go again, right? But I think we ascribe these terms because we speak so glowingly of these guys and we put them in halls of fame quicker and all of that. I think he'll be a good quarterback. Star, I'm not willing to go there yet.
What if he was Kirk Cousins? Is it worth taking a Kirk Cousins at number 4 overall in today's NFL? Maybe not a superstar, but a very effective quarterback.
It is, and make up for it elsewhere. Look, even last year, Kansas City with a superstar quarterback realized that the infrastructure around him it wasn't conducive to playing totally to what he does best, right? I mean, in what world did you guys wake up on a Sunday morning and think to yourself, Andy Reid's going to run the football today? You didn't. And he did. All right? Pacheco ran it. They played small ball with Patrick. He got better. I've said it last year, and I'm very consistent on this. The best quarterback play he's given in the NFL was down the stretch last year and through the playoffs. I don't care about the numbers. I'm talking about being an elite quarterback. Yes, I'm using the word elite. I'm talking about apex predator quarterback. Understanding what's on your team, down and distance situation, taking care of the football, taking the sack instead of making the hero throw, doing all those things. Why? Because your defense is now not playing with a 14-0 lead. Your defense is playing like an elite defense. And he understood all of that and played to it. So the Patrick Mahomes that won this Super Bowl was not the Patrick Mahomes that we saw was super spectacular, but I don't think he's ever played the position of quarterback better than what we saw last year because he understood his team. Kirk Cousins, if you give me Kirk Cousins and I tune up my team around him, I think I'm a threat. I really do. I think I'm a threat to win the whole thing. I know he hasn't, but I don't think that's all his fault either. Yeah, I'm with you. Andrew, I don't know if I'm with you as you pose the question. I think it's a good question, but I think it's worth going and getting him a number 4 in this year's draft.
There we go. Last one for you, Charles. And again, appreciate you making time for us, Charles Davis. Brandon Ayuk, do you think he gets traded during this draft from the 49ers?
I don't. I feel like the 49ers are going to figure things out with him. They're an organization that tends to do that for the most part. Remember how disgruntled Debo was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nick Bosa didn't show up for a real long time last offseason.
Right?
Yep.
Hey, Nick Bosa did a hold in and then signed and played, right?
Yeah.
Debo was disgruntled and kind of, but guess what? That worked out. They just feel like an organization that knows how to work through the grumble. And what is the 2024, 2023 way of showing displeasure? When we were kids, we took our ball and we went home, right? I don't want to play with you guys anymore. Now, what do? We scrub our social media of our team affiliation.
And then tell our agent that we didn't really ask for a trade. It's
exactly.
Or it was my agent.
I think he stays. I think he's an asset they want to keep around. I'd be surprised.
Charles, thank you so much for making time for us and getting up early for us as well. Really excited about the draft getting going in Detroit. Again, NFL Network, Thursday, 8 o'clock. That's where you can watch Charles, and then throughout the weekend.
Hey, I appreciate you guys very much. I hope you let me come and hang out with you one day.
Love to.
Studio with you.
Got to do it. We'll go. We'll get pizza. It'll be really fun, Charles.
Got a chair with your name on it.
Be
Thanks,
good,
Charles.
guys.
Appreciate you. Charles Davis does a great job also with Iron Eagle through the season. I should mention that as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I love it. The way you know a guy's unhappy when you're scrubbing the social media. But that's become so obvious now. Like, I feel like you don't even scare a team by doing that.
I think we need another move.
Who's the guy who just put up the Patriots on his social media?
AJ Brown.
A.J. Brown,
your favorite wide receiver?
Yeah, like I don't think the Eagles were quaking in their boots because they put Tom Brady up there. We know A.J. Brown doesn't want to go to New England. You got to be smart about how you scrub your social media.
Okay, it is Wednesday, which means it's a great debate Wednesday around here. We are asking you, who had the greatest rookie season in the history of the NFL? Draft's upon us. We've got rookies on the brain. So we're asking you, who had the greatest rookie season of all time? You know, you just mentioned Tom Brady. Got a little bit of a Tom Brady update yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You feeling good about your Tom Brady will come back prediction?
My long-term bet of Tom Brady will suit up again in the NFL? Well, have to stick around and hear that next. Maggie and Perloff. We are on the absolutely free to download Odyssey app. We are on SiriusXM channel 158. You can watch us on youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. And you can always download the Maggie and Perloff podcast wherever you get your pods. Coming up, Perloff goes where else? Against the grain.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
The question, will J.J. McCarthy be a star in the NFL? Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We got a lot of plates spinning around here today. It's busy because the NFL draft is tomorrow, Perloff, and the noise and the smoke around teams potentially tripping over themselves to try to trade up to get J.J. McCarthy. And whether that's going to be 4 or 5, the line right now of where he'll be drafted is set at 5.5. But the idea that you would be trading future assets, that you would be trying to outbid your competition with more and more and more to get J.J. McCarthy, to me, just on the surface, sounds crazy. And I'm not saying that J.J. McCarthy wasn't a winner. I'm not saying that he doesn't have talent. It's not about that. It's about what we all watched out of his college career. And I know this is a projection, but he's a guy who has lots of game film whose evaluation feels incomplete because he was not asked to be the focal point of the offense. So to not just draft him, if you want to draft him, go ahead. But to give away next year's first-round pick or even beyond that for J.J. McCarthy, to me, seems wild.
Yeah, I mean, it might not happen for that very reason. I think to get to 4, to get to 3 for Drake May is impossible. You basically have to pull up the Brinks truck. But for J.J. McCarthy, maybe there's a middle ground. Maybe you don't have to give up 3 number ones. For 2 number ones, so you swap your number 1, 12-3. Say you're the Vikings. You say, I'm not going to give you have the 11 pick. I'll give you the 11 pick, and I'll give you next year's first. Can I sell you down in some middle ground? Maybe you don't have to give up all these future assets.
I feel
you're just moving up a little bit.
Okay, but I feel like next year's first, I know people are projecting, the Vikings will be a pretty good team, but are we sure you're a playoff team? I don't know. I think I might need that pick next year. Not for a quarterback necessarily, but for another piece. And, I don't know what's going to go on with Justin Jefferson. I have no idea what the future holds for him. I don't know. I think that's too rich for me.
But the reality is, if you don't get a quarterback, you're going to have Sam Darnold as your starting quarterback. You have no team. There's no reason. You're not going to draft anything that's going to make an impact because all positions are weakened if you don't have your quarterback. That's why you trade up. That's why there's such a crazy market for these guys.
Okay, but here's the thing we're talking about J.J. McCarthy. The question, will he be a star? You can go vote on our poll at Maggie and Pearl on Twitter. So you mentioned it. If the Vikings don't get a quarterback, they are going into the season with Sam Darnold. We know Kirk Cousins has left. He has gone to Atlanta. You're picking at 11. Or 12. No, 11 for the Vikings, right? 11, 12, 13. This is where you lose me a little bit because you have put yourself into this position where you're desperate now because if I'm a head coach, I don't want to go into the season with Sam Darnold. I mean, Kevin O'Connell can work some kind of miracles, but I don't want to put all my eggs in the Sam Darnold basket because I might get fired at the end of the year if things go really bad. So am I making this selection because am I advocating for my team to trade up and trade future assets because I really believe that J.J. McCarthy is going to be a great quarterback, or am I doing it because I'm looking around and thinking, oh no, if I don't come away with a quarterback, then my behind is going to be on the hot seat?
I don't think that is the debate there. I just think that Kevin O'Connell's looking at this and say, this dude will run my offense the way I want it to run, and he'll hit these big-time receivers, and this just feels like it. And I don't know that it's going to be McCarthy. Obviously, they want May, number one, because Josh McCown's in the building and Coach May, and everybody knows it's no secret that the Vikings cover Drake May. But I think that Kevin O'Connell looks at this guy and says, this guy's going to run my offense. I think what you're saying is he doesn't need to be great here. And I don't think it's a matter of desperation. I think it's just like, get me a player who will just run my offense. Coaches think like coaches. They want to have the impact here. I think KOC thinks, yeah, this guy's fine.
Okay, but
and I think
for fine, you're asking me to do future first-round picks.
It's hard.
Off.
It's hard to get fine with cost certainty. Like,
well, why don't you get Michael Pratt then? Why, if you want someone who can just distribute the football and to run your offense, you're talking about Kirk Cousins. We've used other analogies. Brock Purdy. None of these guys were taken even close to the first round, let alone you gave up future assets to get any of these guys. Like, there's a reason why you can find the quote-unquote, if you want him to be a game manager, there's a reason why you can find those guys later on in the draft.
Well, yeah, but if they could redo those drafts, Kirk Cousins would be a first-round pick. There was a lot of confusing things going on with Kirk Cousins and Michigan State, and Brock Purdy would clearly be a first-round pick as well. So I think to me, J.J. McCarthy's a caliber up from Michael Pratt, who I love, by the way, and I love the helmets, everything about that team.
The green wave helmet.
But yeah, I think J.J. McCarthy, he's a good. See, I think one thing, I think the basic core, for some reason, I sense that J.J. McCarthy's a good quarterback.
Right.
I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's better than Michael Pratt. I think he's way better than Spencer Rattler.
Sure.
I think he's good. I think he's going to go in and immediately have success. And is he going to be Josh Allen? No. But you're not getting that guy anyway. I think that KOC's fine with good and thinks he can win a lot of football games.
And that's Kevin O'Connell, who's the head coach of the Vikings. Would you say the same thing, though, if he goes to Denver or if he goes to Las Vegas?
So, no.
So that's the teams who are picking directly after Minnesota at 12 and at 13.
No. I would not. I think Denver's a mess. I think that whole organization is totally screwed up. And I think the Raiders need a different kind of quarterback. They don't need, you called him a game manager. I guess that's usually a criticism, but I know exactly what you meant. Yeah. Like, he's more of a guy who has a strong offensive coach and really strong receivers. That is not really the Raiders. The Raiders need someone who can chuck it downfield to Devontae Adams. That's Michael Penix. So it's different styles for different teams. No, I think he fits perfectly in Minnesota. And all the teams that are looking, see, I don't know where I don't like J.J. McCarthy.
Where?
To a team like the Giants or the Patriots who don't have any receivers. He's not going to elevate the people around him. He's going to fit into where he goes if it's a good team. So he's that kind of quarterback. See, I just disagree with you. I think sometimes you have to trade up to get that guy.
Okay, but I guess, like, if you're looking at the Minnesota Vikings wide receiver room, I would hope that if you are being drafted into the NFL, you could make something of that room. You're basically being gifted two great receivers in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and you have a great pass-catching tight end in TJ Hawkinson. Like, if you can't make that offense work with an offensive-minded head coach, I don't think that's like achievement. I don't think that's like a pat on the back. Like, congrats, you can get the ball to great receivers. Yeah. Good for you. That should be the absolute minimum. Well, I'm saying when you trade up and you're trying to get somebody who you're giving away future first-round picks, we're talking about J.J. McCarthy potentially going to the Vikings. I want someone who also can improvise, who can keep plays alive, who can make sure I'm keeping this going while, Justin Jefferson is getting open, while Jordan Addison is getting open. Like, I want something more than just, he can distribute the ball to these guys. Like, no kidding. They can catch balls from anybody. Yeah. That's because they're so good, not because your quarterback's so good.
But they had more mobile guys didn't work at all last year with Dobbs and Nick Mullins. Those guys
came in off the street.
Yeah, like, but I'm just saying it didn't work. Mullins had been there. That didn't work either.
Well, so you just might not be good, but yeah.
Right. But that's the thing. You need somebody who's good to do that. I don't think, honestly, when you said all that improvised stuff, I think that's the last thing Kevin O'Connell wants anything to do with. And I think most coaches, like, that ability to improvise, I heard, that's Justin Fields holding on to the ball too long. That is the single last thing Kevin O'Connell wants in Minnesota. Well, he wants a guy who's going to run the play and go first option, second option, third option, throw the ball away. He's not wanting an improviser.
Well, I wasn't thinking about Justin Fields because I wasn't in this scenario I'm creating. You're keeping the play alive, but you're not taking a sack. So,
well, I mean, keeping the play alive though you have that risk that you're not running the offense. So I think that
because things aren't going to be perfect a lot of times in the NFL, and especially when you're, even if you have these great receivers, you're still going to ask your quarterback to make a play at some point and more than one. Like, you're going to have to ask something from them, and especially a guy you're trading up assets for, the expectations are going to rise.
Yeah, you're not welcomed into the cult of Kirk.
I'm not part of the Kirk mob.
Kirk Cousins.
No.
Kirk made absolutely 0.5 plays with his legs his entire tenure in Minnesota. That's what Kevin O'Connell wants.
And what did they win?
13 games one season.
Yeah, and they were a fraud of a 1 seed, and they got upset at home by the Giants.
Regardless,
or were they a 2 seed that year? Whatever it was, they lost their playoff game at home to Daniel Jones.
You can litigate the Vikings and Kirk Cousins all you want. I'm just saying that is obviously a valuable player to the NFL. The dude's making $50 million a year.
Yeah, but not with the Vikings. I mean, they were done with him.
Oh, how much money did he make with him?
No, he did. He made, but again, if he was really the guy and they're thinking we're really close and all this, like, they could have just kept extending him.
I think they would say to themselves, J.J. McCarthy is a younger, slightly more athletic Kirk Cousins.
That's possible. Andy is in Pittsburgh, wants to weigh in on the J.J. McCarthy debate. Hey, Andy, what's up?
Hey, I think if he's with the right team, J.J. McCarthy can be a star. I compare him to, like, Troy Aikman, the situation. If he didn't have Emmett and Michael Irvin, he wouldn't been a good big star. Aikman wouldn't. Same way with McCarthy. So, I mean, that's why he did so good at Michigan. He had his receivers. He had 2-star running backs, Corum and Edwards.
Yep.
So he needs some guys around him. He's not the one-man show like Rodgers or Peyton Manning, but he needs.
Right, but Andy, and
around.
I know you say Troy Aikman, and Troy went number 1 overall, so obviously you're going to have massive expectations when you're the top pick. But we expect a lot from these quarterbacks who go high in the draft and are taken high, not just that they're going to, be okay handing the ball off 30 times.
Right, well, yeah, but you need a mixture too. And some quarterbacks can do that, that and everything. But just like compared to another sport, some players can shoot the ball good, and some players good passing it too, but some can do it all.
Hey, Andy,
J.J. McCartney needs pieces.
I love it. J.J. McCartney, Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Okay, so Andy, I got a question for you. Just may I ask you a personal question? Do you mind? You can absolutely tell me no. I'm having trouble locating your accent. You're calling from Pittsburgh, but it sounds like a bit of a Southern accent.
Well, I grew up in southern West Virginia, about 4 hours south of Pittsburgh.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much, because I couldn't really place it. And Andy, appreciate you making the call. I wasn't sure. A Pittsburgh accent is very obvious. Like Pat McAfee. The Pittsburgh accent, yins, downtown, stuff like that. And I wasn't sure if your accent in Pittsburgh gets so thick it could sound a little like a Southern accent. But no, Andy's from West Virginia, so that makes a little more sense.
There you go.
All right. My best friend's from Pittsburgh, so I can tell her accent is thick. It's yinsers. It's very unique. It's very special. All right, let's waste no more time. It's Perloff's moment to go against the grain.
Against the grain.
I have a trivia question to start. And if anybody gets this, I'm buying them lunch and dinner.
Whoa.
Can you tell me the oldest rookie quarterback of all time and how old he was?
Brandon Weeden.
Brandon Weeden is 7th. Chris Schwenke is 9th.
Oh, man.
It is Butch Songin of the 1960 Boston Patriots. Then the most recent guy is 2019, Ryan Griffin. Remember the backup for the Bucks? He was 30. So there is really then.
Wait, how old was the first guy? Bruce Songin? What's his name?
36. Butch Songin.
Butch.
You know who was second? It was Dieter Brock. I know you remember Dieter Brock, right, Bilotti? Or feels like he's a big 80s quarterback.
One of the greats.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Pete's got a shrine to him in his house.
That's right.
Does he remember Dieter Brock?
Right next to my Bruce Bochy shrine.
Do you guys know Dieter Brock? I'm just curious.
I know Dieter Brock.
Oh, yeah. Oh, regardless. Yeah, he's pretty old. Warren Moon was 28, by the way. Very old. But that had a whole backstory.
Other situation playing in Canada.
This is not my argument. My argument is, tell me one reason that drafting an older quarterback is not a good idea. People are using it as a negative for Bo Nix and Michael Penix. In 2024 in the NFL, It should be one of the great positives of all these guys because the key to drafting a quarterback, the only reason you want to do it in the first round is so you have 5 years of cost control. So why don't you want those 5 years to be close to the peak of the quarterback? So you got to take Bo Nix, will be 24 and a half when he starts in the NFL, and also Michael Penix, who is in 23 now. It usually works. Let me list some guys who are older. Joe Burrow, first start, 23.7. Vinny Testaverde, 23.8. Carson Palmer, 23.7. Eli, 23.7. Brock Purdy was in his 23s, and he was still one of the youngest quarterbacks ever to go to the Super Bowl. You have to hit this peak. Why would you draft a 21-year-old guy if you have a 23-year-old guy who's proof of concept? I just think in today's NFL, being old is a gigantic positive. It's kind of like Moneyball. Moneyball, the theory was that a lot of teams like high school players. Moneyball, you like the college players who've already seen a little bit of it. They're older. A lot of scouts like the traits where that's stupid. You should look at college production. This, you have to take Nix and Penix. And I think they both go in the first round for this very reason. I think teams are into this. I think people who are knocking those guys for being older are dead wrong. I think they have the exact opposite. Give me the old guy over the young guy all day long because then I get 5 years of him in his mid-20s. Let's go. That's a lot of value. So I think teams look at that. I think the cost of a quarterback is one of the big issues. Why we're going to have 6 quarterbacks maybe in the first round because they're cheaper. So I go with the old guys. I'm high on Nix and Penix to go in the first round. I think their age, which a lot of people ding them for, is one of their strengths.
All right. I like it as an against the grain because you're right. They do get dinged for this. We talked about this a little last year with Hendon Hooker, right? Remember, he was a little older now, but then he got an injury.
I mean,
so it's a little bit different.
Hooker still has not played
Yeah.
He can't even practice.
So here's my question, though, about older quarterbacks, right? So this is the knock. The knock is that they have already achieved their ceiling. So, like for a Bo Nix or for a Michael Penix, is this as good as it's going to get for them? You know, and maybe even specifically for a Bo Nix, you weren't great when you were at Auburn. Then you go to Oregon and you become great. Is that because, maybe a little system, a little scheme, a little maturity, but also now you're 23 and you're playing against 19 and 20-year-olds. You're just bigger and you're just smarter than everybody. So I think it's about the ceiling and about, are you just an older person competing against younger people, and that's why your college tape looks better.
Yeah, but Auburn could have ruined any quarterback. Because we saw Jarrett Stidham was in Auburn. And he was terrible because Gus Malzahn was out of his mind. I think it was Malzahn with him. Honestly, like that's the Auburn problem. Joe Burrow, I mean, obviously my counter is always Joe Burrow. Sure. Didn't beat out Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State. Didn't do much his first year at LSU. So we just like Brock Purdy, we didn't know. You just don't know. You get the right older guy in the right spot. You're guessing on all these guys. Will you admit that? Like there's a giant amount of guesswork when they're drafting these quarterbacks. The hit rate is 50%. So if you have two guys who are equal, do you want the 21-year-old or the 23-year-old? Common thinking is the 21-year-old because you haven't seen his upside yet. I think that's wrong. I would take the old guy. If everything's even, why not get Bo Nix at 24? You're going to get 4 years of really solid play here. What are you getting with, who's the young guy? Drake May is 21. You have no idea what he's going to do in that first 5 years. I mean, who's more likely to sign a second contract? I just think the older guys are going to be good this year. And I like Nix and Penix. I think you kind of err towards the young guys. You think Nix and Penix are kind of on the old side?
No, listen, I like Penix. Nobody's talking about injuries at all anymore when that was a huge part of his story. And I find it a little odd that's just sort of totally gone away. And as far as Nix is concerned, I do like Nix a lot. I mean, I think if they win that game against Washington, the rematch, I think he wins the Heisman, and it was close. So I like Nix. I can't tell if maybe he just changed schemes, got older than everybody, and now all of a sudden we saw the ceiling. So I like your against the grain, though. Older quarterbacks, that's the new thing. 855-212-4227. We also have your great debate today. It is a Wednesday. And because the draft is starting tomorrow, we're asking who had the greatest rookie season in the history of the NFL. We see you guys on the phones. We'll get to you in just a moment. Also, we're talking front offices. Who really needs to kill it in the next couple days with their draft? Maggie and Perloff, don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Great debate Wednesday. Greatest rookie season in NFL history. We have the draft on Thursday. Going to have a lot of quarterbacks. Could have a contender for this debate in this draft. Maybe Caleb Williams, maybe Jaden Daniels. I think those guys to have great years. Last year, C.J. Stroud probably should have entered this debate, led the Texans to the playoffs when no one saw that coming. But I went with Eric Dickerson, the Rams' great. Maggie?
I went with Cam Newton, who not just had a great rookie season, but I think sort of started to break the mold a little bit about what we thought a dual-threat quarterback could really be, like the ceiling of a dual-threat quarterback. EJ?
I'm going with the great Randy Moss.
No explanation needed.
Yeah.
And Pete went with
Odell Beckham Jr.
Also no explanation needed. One-handed catch will apply. I don't know if Bogusch is up on the Zoom. He is up on the Zoom. Bogusch went with
Jim Brown, 1957 NFL MVP as a rookie.
He was good.
He wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Is
I
anybody
remember.
jealous of EJ right now?
Jealous of EJ because he got to pick Randy Moss?
Not that he got to pick Randy Moss. I'm just thinking, man, why didn't I take Randy Moss? Because that guy was so cool as a rookie. That's a pretty good one.
I mean, you got Moss became now part of our vocabulary because of his rookie year.
EJ, you got to pull up Eric Dickerson highlights and all the old. See, to me, I voted for old school running backs. Nobody breaks an 80-yard run anymore. This doesn't exist in the NFL anymore. It was so much different for running backs. So that's sort of my old guy vote for Eric Dickerson. Cam, by the way, there's nothing wrong with him.
No, we got some good options here. Andy is in Michigan, is on Maggie and Perloff, has got an idea. Hey, Andy, how are you?
Hey, good, guys. You good?
Oh, we're great.
Awesome. Hey, so yeah, I'm going along with you, Maggie. Dual threat quarterbacks, Robert Griffin III. Man, that guy was just a beast. And, it sucks. Every time I see him in the broadcast booth, I just I just shudder. What a pity, man. That guy, if he didn't get hurt, that guy could have broke some records.
You want to know who else is always lamenting when we see RG3 in the broadcast booth for that exact reason? Andrew Perloff. I feel like you are constantly wondering. You ask the question all the time, why is RG3 not on a roster?
Yeah, it's like 32.
Yeah, he's racing Formula One cars like in his spare time.
No, seriously, he's 34. He's basically the same age as Bo Nix. No, I mean, I don't understand, why did he never start again after Washington? Does anyone have an explanation? The guy had a beautiful, beautiful throwing motion and is the fastest, probably right there with Lamar, is the fastest quarterback I've ever seen. So I don't know what happened.
Yeah, RG3 and Andy.
Second highest rated rookie quarterback.
It was unreal. And thank you so much for the call. I mean,
this is all the Commanders, formerly the other name team. They screwed this whole thing up. There was no reason his rookie year to put him out in that playoff game. Tore up his knee, and it just never came back.
20 passing touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, and then the rushing touchdowns, I believe he had 7 rushing touchdowns also that year. And let's not forget, that was a team that traded up, right? Remember, Washington traded tons of picks to try to get RG3 to the traded with the Rams, and he had so much pressure on him. I remember that time they had pictures of him that were like the Obama posters with hope underneath. Talk about walking into a franchise where you were really expected to all of a sudden carry this franchise, and there was so much hype around RG3.
Yeah, actually, I think there's a little bit of a luck at RG3 going on this year because Caleb Williams being the Andrew Luck kind of thing, and Jaden Daniels will, very much like RG3, incredible. There's no combo of passing and running like Jaden Daniels. But this year's draft is different because then you got the 4 guys below. I'm trying to convince you, Maggie, and I'm not getting anywhere. This is going to be a special quarterback class. It really,
these guys
1983. I think it could chat. Well, 83. You had to bring up 83. No.
What else you got?
Well, what's the year that Cam and Andy Dalton and Colin Kaepernick went? I'll give you that.
That's
2011.
Yeah, 2011. Rich is in Chicago, has a thought for the hometown Bears. Hey, Rich.
Hey, good morning. A couple quick things, and I'll kind of weigh in on this. I'm with Perloff. Dickerson would have had 2,000 yards. I'm old enough where I've seen all of your picks, and they're all very good. But Dickerson was the first guy that taught NFL running backs to run out of bounds on every run. He never got hit. That's why he played for 100 years. He could have had 2,000 yards. He'd run out of bounds on every play he broke. So I think he was spectacular. The other thing I want to talk about real quick for the Bears, McCarthy. I think that when you talk about why would the Vikings mortgage the future, I'm really a big fan of Penix, and he's going to be there at 12 and 13.
Yeah.
So why would you mortgage the future for McCarthy? when you can get Penix clean.
Yeah, Rich, I think that's a good point.
I don't understand why. I have a Penix rated above McCarthy, and I'm an ex-college player, and all of my buddies and I kind of agree on this. And here's what we really agree on, the purpose of my call. And this is what Perloff kind of touched on. But in the past 10 years, 63% of the first-round quarterback picks have not become starters, and for 3 to 4 year starters. That's a failure rate of 63, not 50. Only 37% became 3 or 4 year starters. So, given that it's a crapshoot, and I like Jane Daniels better, but the Bears, in their infinite wisdom and their history of screwing up, they will probably draft. But here's the deal: why wouldn't you, given everybody wants Caleb Williams, I like Daniels better. Why wouldn't you trade down to 2, give up number 1? Bears only have 4 draft picks and stockpile draft picks for Caleb Williams. I would take Jaden Daniels anyway, and I can get him in number 2. Now, the Bears, their history is not good, and they probably won't do it. But my friends and I, we really prefer Jaden Williams. Over Caleb Williams.
Caleb, Rich, it's interesting. Now, yesterday we spoke with Jim Nagy, who is the executive director of the Senior Bowl and was a longtime NFL scout. And he did think that the whole world sort of jumped to the conclusion a little too quickly that Caleb Williams was far and away the best quarterback prospect in this draft. And he said he spoke with many teams who actually did have Jaden Daniels higher on their board.
Yeah. I mean, actually, you've been saying all along, though, I think the reason you don't do that if you're Chicago and Ryan Poles is because there's so much risk. If you trade off of 1 to go to get Jaden Daniels at 2 and Caleb Williams is a superstar, you're going to look like an idiot. So I think the downside, and I think GMs are risk averse. You know, Nagy said the same thing. A lot of GMs are thinking, what pick can I make to keep my job? You know, I got kids in school. I got 3 years. I got a mortgage. So I think that's one of those situations. Even if you do secretly think Jaden Daniels is better, you might take Caleb Williams just because you know, this is a matter of my job. The other thing, too, is like the injury risk. I'm a Jaden Daniels super fan. I think that Caleb Williams is a little more solid physically. I'd be too scared that my number 1 guy would get hurt.
Yeah. Also, here would be a real life question, right? From Rich in Chicago, just saying, what if the Bears traded out of the first pick because Jaden Daniels might be higher on their board, whatever. If you're the Bears and you're holding this number 1 overall pick and you call the Commanders, doesn't that set off a red flag for the Commanders?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's the point if you're the Commanders?
Exactly. The Commanders would be like, well, okay, say that we really like Caleb. You're calling us.
Yeah, but like in reality, because we've all seen Caleb Williams and we've seen Jaden Daniels, if I'm the Commanders and they're offering, we'll give up a first-round pick to get Caleb Williams, I'm doing that.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I have to, because if you're calling me, that means you're probably like Daniels more. So this is, I might have to take a bit of a risk that this is going to fall my way anyway.
That's
are you calling?
Risk. That's a risk because you're only calling because you know there's so much pressure to take Caleb. You wouldn't be calling if you were just take Jaden.
Okay, but I know in this scenario, and it's a little convoluted, but if the Bears actually didn't want Caleb Williams and they started shopping that number 1 pick, then I can't go back further than 2 because if I actually want Jaden Daniels, this doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
So say
I know what you mean.
I drafted with, I wanted to trade with the Patriots. The Patriots come up and they get Caleb first. And then what do you think the Commanders are doing? They're taking Jaden Daniels. They're taking your guy. Unless you have intel that they like Drake May more, but I wouldn't rely on that.
Well, I just think if you're the Commanders and someone says you can get up to get Caleb Williams, the Commanders would do that. They'd give up. They'd move the sun and the moon to get up to number 1, but it's not happening. Remember when the Bears had to take Trubisky at 2 instead of 3?
Yeah.
Because the Niners said, hey, we're getting calls. We're getting calls here for this number 2 pick. So then Chicago had to move up from 3 to 2.
Yeah.
They held him. I like they hold him over a barrel. But,
see, this reminds me of what your 76ers did the year with Markelle Fultz.
Sorry, with Fultz and Jason Tatum.
Like, the Boston Celtics knew that your 76ers wanted to take Markelle Fultz, so they traded out of it to get Jason Tatum.
Right, and the Sixers should have taken Tatum, but if the Celtics thought they were taking Tatum, they never would have made that deal. So it's chicken or the egg. Regardless, none of this is happening. Caleb Williams is going 1. And then probably Jaden Daniels, too.
I would think so. I mean, that's what the odds are saying. Andrew Bogusch is here. He's got some headlines on this very busy day. Good morning.
I've got some breaking news from college football. Reggie Bush is getting his 2005 Heisman Trophy back.
Get out of here.
ESPN. The formal announcement's coming soon. It'll say that the Heisman Trust changed its mind because of the, quote, enormous changes in the college football landscape, like NIL. So this fight's been going on for a decade. Didn't Johnny Manziel not go to a ceremony over this? And now Reggie Bush is getting his Heisman Trophy back.
Yeah, Manziel said he was going to start boycotting, right, until Reggie got the Heisman back. Wow. I was actually on USC's campus the day they took it away. We were there to do an interview with Matt Barkley for Sports Illustrated, but it was the day the news came down, and it ended up being a huge deal. We were in the scrums, and all my friends and family thought I moved to L.A. Because they saw us on ESPN. Wow. I have a question for you. So does that mean we should revisit like any of these other things, like Maurice Clarett wanting to get into the draft before he had to play 3 years in college? Like, is everything out on the table now if they're going to revisit this?
If there was another Maurice Clarett court case, he would blow that away. Everything's changed against college football, right? The fact that you could transfer immediately with no penalty whatsoever, like I like that one. You're right. Who are some of the other? Are they going to unvacate titles and things? Like Michigan gets their final appearance back. Bogusch, you have an answer for that? I like where you're headed. Like it's a new. I also
just
like
open the door.
I like that the Heisman Trust admitted that the current changes is what affected our thinking. They were just like, basically, they're admitting public pressure.
Yeah.
Change their mind. There's no other reason than it's a different atmosphere. Is that a valid
I think there's
reason?
another reason.
What lawsuit?
No, last week or 2 weeks ago was a big reason. I think
about OJ.
Yeah, they had to put out the statement. Hey, OJ, he died. We wish him well, or whatever. Like, I think that made them rethink everything. They had to sit there and be like, we're immortalizing, because they didn't say, oh, by the way, he had this whole case where he was, charged with double murder.
Right.
They just put out a statement being like, great football player, great Heisman, we'll miss him. And they put that out there, and people were like, y'all really are going to immortalize O.J. Simpson, but not give Reggie Bush his Heisman back. And then they said, you know what? This has gotten out of control.
Wait, let me ask you. The thinking here is they just want to change the headline? They want to change the narrative and
I'm not
put out
sure
another...
change the headline. I think we moved on, but I think that was the moment where, they got skewered for that.
Yeah, no, I know. But so I'm not quite sure I follow the logic of you're sitting there in the Heisman Trust and say like, man, that was a huge mistake. Let's give Reggie his Heisman back.
I think it's the more, and I'm not saying these are the most moral people, but I think there's a moral conundrum that clearly was presented to them that I'm sure they thought about before they even put the statement out.
Oh, see,
like we never took away OJ's Heisman when he was found liable for the murder of two people.
Right.
Yet we're gonna keep this Heisman away from Reggie Bush, whose parents took some money to
For
buy a house.
Even though now that is legal, what we're seeing, at least illegal in terms of through NIL. Well, I think all of that combined with OJ had a lot to do with why this is happening today.
I don't have all the Reggie info in front of me again, but I'm pretty sure what his parents did is still not allowed. Like you can't take a gift to get your kid to go to a school. Like that's still not allowed. You could give him a blank check for for $500,000, then he can buy his family a house. But USC can't buy the next top recruit's kid a house, so he goes to the Trojans, which was always their argument, is that what Reggie did is still not allowed. But I think EJ's hitting on this, is that it's one thing to ignore the disconnect between Reggie Bush and OJ, but then when you're writing a sorry you passed away tweet about OJ Simpson, it probably does make you feel a little bit different that you still have him in your room, but not Reggie Bush.
Well, it's funny. They needed OJ's death to remind them of this hypocrisy. I think that's a really great theory,
right?
But that sounds like they're ridiculous people then.
They are.
Apparently
I think we've got our
so.
answer here. Wow, that is some news. Reggie Bush is getting his Heisman back. What else happened yesterday, Bogues, or today?
Well, we've already declared this morning that your girlfriend or another loved one cannot defend you publicly when an anonymous NBA player poll declares you the league's most overrated player. But if your brother's about to win MVP again and is leading a 20-point turnaround against the Lakers, can you punch another person at the game during said rally? I'm asking for the Jokic brothers. One of them went over 2 rows of seats to clock a dude during Game 2 with LA. The NBA and Denver PD are investigating, with the police saying no one filed a complaint at the arena that night or in the time since.
I mean, these guys... Nobody should be messing with these guys.
No.
Or I don't know if they should be allowed in the arena ever again. I mean, this is not the first time that they've gotten some altercations. I don't know what sparked it, but I don't know if these guys can be trusted. I mean, this was at home. This wasn't even on the road where you have a hostile crowd. This is the home crowd who loves Jokic.
Yeah, you do not need that in the arena. I agree. I would get him out of there.
And for Jokic's sake, I mean, I know that you mess around like, oh, he doesn't even care about basketball. He'd rather be at a Serbian OTB, betting on horses. But he's got a lot at stake. I mean, he is one of the face of the league. He's a 2-time MVP. I mean, just because he's reluctant doesn't mean he's not representing the league in a lot of ways. If this was someone else, I think that
he's the guy who stood there and said, "I didn't want to go to the parade." I don't think representing the league is a priority to him at all.
Oh, it's not a priority, but like it or not, by virtue of him being so good, he does represent the league.
So you're saying that, but
he's got a lot at stake, and his brothers could be putting stuff at jeopardy here because they're reckless.
I feel like, actually, I kind of disagree. I don't think he feels like legacy to him doesn't seem to mean a single thing here. So what's he really have at stake here? You're saying
I
they're
think
not
like
going to
any famous person whose siblings or someone in their entourage, like John Morant's entourage and his group of friends came under huge scrutiny.
Jackson
Why would
Mahomes.
Jokic's? Oh my gosh, Jackson Mahomes, sheesh.
Jackson Mahomes has been terrible, but Patrick's just fine. I mean, that hasn't really affected him.
No, but I think that I guess. I mean, I think that people believe he's like a knucklehead.
Yeah, he's terrible. Jackson Mahomes is terrible, and Mahomes is just going out there and winning Super Bowls. I'm not sure what Joker really can lose here, but I do agree with you. Like, they shouldn't be allowed in the arena. If they're obviously like, maybe somebody provoked them, but if you're that big, dude, you don't get into that kind of fight. It's dangerous.
Also, don't be provoked.
And these guys seem to be easily provoked. I mean,
totally.
I mean, they were yelling at
better,
Devin
be
Booker.
bigger,
Yeah, like this was, I think, maybe a little funny initially when you're yelling at Devin Booker from 30 feet away. This has become clownish and goonish, what we're seeing from these guys.
This is not a good look. What else we got, Bogusch?
We've got actual basketball last night. Luka Doncic overcoming Kawhi Leonard's return to get his Mavs a split in L.A.
7 to shoot. 6, 5, 4. Trying to drive it. Step back for 3. Hit it! And Luka letting the crowd know in a timeout by Tyronn Lue.
Chuck Cooperstein on Mavs Radio going with the rare Tyronn Lue. That's like me calling Maggie Margaret. Luka scoring 32 in this 96-93 decision in Game 2 with the Clippers. Kawhi was playing for the first time since March 31st. He had 15 points in 35 minutes. The Pacers got their split in Milwaukee, 125-108, ending their 10-game postseason losing streak. Pascal Siakam, 37 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Only the T-Wolves then took a 2-0 lead last night, smothering the Suns 105-93. Despite just 15 points from Anthony Edwards, this is just the second 2-0 lead in Minnesota playoff history. Do we think there was some pent-up Ipe anger behind this swing from Shohei?
Barnes, the right-hander, first base side of the rubber, kicks and deals, and Shohei crushes one. This is way back, and it is gone into the upper deck in right field. And that ball got out of here in a blink of an eye. A lightning bolt off the bat of Shohei Ohtani.
Tim Neverick called it on Dodgers radio. Ohtani's homer capped off a 4-1 win in Washington. It went 450 feet. It left the bat at 118.7 miles an hour. That's the hardest homer he's ever hit, and the hardest by any Dodger in the StatCast era, which goes back to 2015. The Panthers and Rangers have 2-0 leads after last night on playoff ice. Florida outlasting Tampa Bay 3-2 in overtime. New York held off Washington 4-3. Alex Ovechkin has one shot on goal through 2 games for the Caps. The Predators got a split in Vancouver 4-1. The Avalanche did the same thing in Winnipeg 5-2. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, we check in with our favorite college football coach and more on the breaking news from this morning that we heard from Andrew Bogusch, which is Reggie Bush is getting his Heisman back. We've got more reaction to that in just moments. Sit tight. Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Do you believe that? Deion. You believe that?
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Busy. for our pal Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. First, this came from yesterday. Dylan Edwards, the Colorado running back, has decided to hit the transfer portal, Perloff. So 76 carries, 321 yards, a touchdown, 36 receptions, 300 yards, 4 TDs last year. So that's just one piece of news. The second is Cormani McClain, was the star corner who also hit the portal. Not happy with Deion, says he wanted to change the narrative and join a quote-unquote real program.
I'm just ready to bring the old version of me out and change the narrative of everyone's thinking on my name. Be a part of a real and a great program that's going to impact me at my best ability.
He also says he doesn't want to play just for internet fame.
I feel like I just don't want to play for the clicks. I actually want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players.
All right. Not doing it for clicks. That sounds like what Oregon coach Dan Lanning was saying to his Ducks before they played Colorado, that they do it for clicks, we do it for wins, or whatever he said.
Yeah, I'm on Team Deion on this one. Deion, so many words said, all the guys who are leaving were not that good at football.
Yep.
And I saw him play in the Pac-12, and I can endorse Deion's take there.
Cormani McClain also, it just never really seemed actually like a great fit, quite frankly. I mean,
Yeah, like, he didn't-
Deion criticized him publicly also.
He just didn't even play that much.
Yep.
It was weird. That
Maturity
was a big
issues,
name.
stuff like that.
But I do think here's the game with Deion. Can he get in more good players than he's losing? I guess that's not really where you want to be as a coach, but it does seem like he's done the right things. Got an offensive line. Just got a new running back the other day that all the college guys from Ohio State were saying it's going to kill it there. I think, you can lose anyone from that team except Shador, and I'm fine.
There you go. So that is checking in on the state of Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, we mentioned breaking news this morning, and that is the Heisman Trophy Trust has said they are going to give back the Heisman to Reggie Bush. This has been a long time coming. When Reggie Bush in 2005 won the Heisman Trophy, it technically was not taken away. Technically, he gave it to them. Like he gave it up. But it wasn't actually like he was doing that because he wanted to. They were sort of forcing him to give up the Heisman, and now they are going to return it. He forfeited the Heisman in 2010 because of those NCAA sanctions for USC. They said Reggie Bush got improper benefits during his time as a Trojan from 2003 to 2005. But I'm glad the Heisman Trust is doing this. I think he's been, kind of punished enough. Like, his name was dragged through the mud. And I would love to just give truth serum to every Heisman Trophy winner and ask if they ever took anything impermissible. Like, I'm watching Johnny Manziel's documentary where he said his dad went to Kevin Sumlin and said, if you give us $2 million, we'll stay at Texas A&M. I mean, and then Kevin Sumlin is looked at as some kind of fool because he didn't pay the money. It all felt a little gross at the time, and they're trying to rectify this.
How many guys have basically been caught?
Yeah.
I know Cam never officially took the money, but clearly he was messed up. He was involved with a lot of different things. I'm looking at some of these. I'm not going to name names, but it's obvious to me that there are several people who played in the era where everyone was getting paid, and there's just no way to be this good and not get paid. I can't say any names. I don't want to assume, but you're telling me this guy didn't get paid to play at this school?
Which one are you?
You're telling me Jameis Winston didn't get paid to go to Florida State? Get out of here, because they would be crazy not to pay him. There's been a black market in this sport forever.
You're right. Absolutely.
And that's why they should. But I like your question. If they're going to bring this Heisman back, what else will they, quote unquote, unvacate? Do we get the Fab Five in Michigan? Do they get their final appearance back? Because all these recruiting violations seem silly in modern terms, which is what the Heisman Trust cited. So now we have to go back in history and say, you know what, maybe we should reinstate some other things.
Oh, if you're going to apply today's standard to years past, I don't see how you don't put these wins back on. Why don't you put USC's wins back in?
Absolutely.
Reinstate the national championship.
Give Jim Boeheim his wins back. I'm trying to look at, I guess Memphis was a runner-up. That got vacated. I didn't remember that exactly.
Well, everywhere John Calipari's gone, basically something's happened.
Yeah. Give it all exactly. Ohio State 1999 Final Four. A lot of college basketball trips to the Final Four have been vacated. Bring them all back. I think this is, it just points out. The other thing, will Reggie get to go to the dinners and stuff? I assume he will. Will he be in the Heisman House commercials?
I mean, and will he want to accept it? I probably. I don't know if he'd be bitter after all this time. I mean, you could understand if he would be.
I think Reggie Bush would be smart to put that aside and say, listen, I want to be part of this family. Because we all know, you win a Heisman, you're set for life. You're going to live off that trophy.
Yep.
We've seen it with hundreds of different, I mean, a lot of guys, Gino Torretta, all these guys are well known because of the Heisman. It's a very important award.
So the other part of this, and EJ pointed it out, and I think it's smart. I mean, it looked pretty bad when O.J. Simpson passes away, what was that, 2 weeks ago? And the Heisman's putting out a statement, and you think to yourself, well, O.J. got to keep his Heisman.
Yeah.
And then Reggie Bush had to forfeit his. And I don't know if that looks so great because that's not exactly or anywhere close to being apples to apples.
Yeah, they've had a long time to make that analogy. I hope they thought of it before, but you're right.
Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you, Pete Pilati, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, Weedo's Coffee Drinkers, Charles Davis. See you tomorrow.
You're in a 5-minute break.